Right, we're live. Oh my god. Today's a little different. Today was the day. Oh, instead of coffee, I've got the water. Oh, this is my first time getting back in the gym in like 5 years.
Oh wow, how did that feel?
Tiring. First session back is tough. I didn't go overboard. Just wanted to get the habit started back up. But yeah, I managed to do a lot of the things that I was promising myself I was going to get back to. And so, it's I'm coming here sweaty as hell today, and I got my water instead of the coffee. But the big thing is I'm kind of tired. So I'm not sure if it's going to affect my art performance. I think we're going to find out if me working out is like going to make it harder for me to do these studies, or maybe I just need to get in the habit. I remember working out being kind of energizing back in the day, back when I used to do it regularly. All right. Ref images. What do we want to pick?
You mentioned you find these images on Pinterest. Do you have like a favorite like search term, or like how do you, where do you find it?
Pinterest. The thing is like I used Pinterest a lot for like looking up reference in the past. So it already kind of has my number. So when I just go to the homepage, it's got it shows me some of my own art that's been reposted from other places, but also a mix of the sort of things that I've been searching for and clicking on. So you can sort of get a sense that the kinds of images that I generally click on as a result of what's showing up in their algorithm. So it's a mix of sort of like fantasy illustration and concept art, along with like a lot of fashion editorial stuff. It's like looking at interesting, weird fashion images has always been a big inspiration for me. Oh, look, somebody did a fan art. It's cool. I also find a lot of artists that are clearly inspired by me show up through here. Sometimes I find this is how I discover like an artist who, here's a former student of mine, did this piece with me at a mentorship. And then once you start clicking on this, you start seeing my art mixed in along with, I'll find people who, I'm a major inspiration for them, and I sometimes strike up conversations with them or like reach out if I start seeing them show up a lot through places like this, because Pinterest can kind of identify when they're hitting the same notes based off of people's browsing habits. And, sometimes I will then like re-put some of this stuff back into my reference folders because it's like relevant for what I'm going to be doing with like either future illustrations or future projects. But as I click around through this, it doesn't, I almost never even need to search for anything in particular because it's so good at like, any single click is going to lead to this avalanche of related content. Which I think is
Yeah, I signed up.
one of the ways that people discover me.
Yeah, I signed up for Pinterest recently, and I clicked on like two things, and now my whole Pinterest is just like carbon copies of those two things. I feel sort of like trapped in this weird like hole that I accidentally clicked into.
Yeah, there's that. But then you can also, you can just also hit the search and, here we go. We got some suggestions. Lovecraftian horror, fashion photography, best photographers. We could finally settle the debate and figure out who's the best one. Let's see what's Lovecraftian horror. So I definitely wouldn't mind having a little bit more variety mixed in. Here's a Lovecraftian horror right here. Deeply unrealistic. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing more like illustration mixed in along with the fashion stuff I've been getting, because I've been clicking on a lot of the fashion stuff looking for reference material for studies? But yeah, the Lovecraftian horror stuff seems to almost immediately lean back into the sort of pseudo angelic stuff. One click away, and you've got me and Nino right next to each other. Nino is a friend of mine who, I've also artistically influenced. Oh, and then here's that Magic the Gathering Planeswalker that looks exactly like one of my characters, but I didn't actually create.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
I got sick. I have fever and I had to take day off, so I'm dying right now.
Oh, I'm glad you're feeling a little better.
Like drawing when you have fever is like wild.
I've never tried it. Oh, by the way, I think this is the first time on what I'm streaming. This channel I'm in right now is live on Twitch, so just a heads up.
Okay.
You don't need to do anything different. I'm just making sure that anybody who's in this room is like aware of the fact that like we are streaming and like things could be clipped or recorded from this broadcast.
Okay. So how Twitch gonna know that I have a fever, right?
Yeah. There's 19 people out there that know that you have a fever.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd seen this one before. I really liked this illustration. I don't know. Let's see. Affected place by Sakuru Tanaka. Oh no, that's the board. Fuck. The accreditation on Pinterest is easily one of its worst parts. I'm kind of wondering, who is this by?
Hi everyone, good morning.
Hi, good morning, good morning. Okay. It is Suguru Tanaka. Here we go. Oh, interesting. More cool red blocks. Seems like they love doing red architectural stuff. I'm into it. Very interesting. A little bit of a classic throwback there too. But yeah, I like the one with the candelabra head. It's kind of like a fungus, kind of like a candelabra in their iconic, red architecture. Looks like some Beksinski inspiration as well. Some of the same inspirations. Oh yeah, this figure with the arms folded, that's definitely a Beksinski quote. But yeah, really cool stuff. Oh, there's a YouTube video. We're not going to watch YouTube on the channel. Suguru Tanaka, the modern nightmare artist. Oh, okay. 49K views. If anybody wants to make a YouTube video about my art, they are welcome to, and I would be happy to contribute either by doing thumbnail art for it or like, being interviewed or whatever. There was a really good one that was done by Tail Foundry that I worked with them on, like giving them some background info as well as like thumbnail art, and the first one did like 900K views. It was huge. It was awesome. So I'd love to be able to participate in more stuff like that. But yeah, anyways, I was looking for, I'm trying to figure out what my study's going to be today. I don't think I'm going to be studying another person's illustrations. But I've got a folder already, and I'm just kind of like ruminating on whether or not I want to pull in some more stuff. It's interesting, like, in a lot of places where there's AI art, it's like it's taken over completely. But what's interesting about Pinterest is it feels like it's kind of coming in. Oh, there's Baca stuff. It's only coming in like small measures, which I'm not sure if they're trying to suppress it or if it's just sort of naturally filtering in just the few AI pieces that people seem to be really into. It's interesting. Yeah,
I'm
because like
finding it depends on the search. With certain searches, it's extremely AI populated, but with others, it seems to be non-existent.
I wonder if it's because I'm not clicking on it. Because it's like if I click on this thing, I'm going to get like 10 times as much AI art. I think I'm getting like
I think
lots
so.
of red pieces now that I've clicked on this one artist stuff. And oh yeah, and now we're getting some Elish Norn, very similar vibe. Pinterest is really good at picking up on vibes. So anyways, I'll probably just pull something that I've already got here. Are you gonna, Adam? Are you gonna follow along with the same one? Do you want me to? Do you want to have some influence on the pick here?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
You sound so pained.
No pain, no gain.
Well, that's what I was saying before you showed up. Is that today was my first day back in the gym.
Oh, hey, good for you.
Oh, and hey, Sam. See you in the room and on the chat. In the hey, Sam, do you want to be a mod? If you gotta be, are you gonna be around? Do you want to be a mod? Yeah, I got up at 6. I farted around for about 30 minutes. I went and I got Obsidian set up. I bought Obsidian Sync because I'm like, I'm not going to use this. Yeah. Sam Mariah, do you want to be the mod or are you going to be around? I trust you to be a mod. And then, yeah, so I got Obsidian set up. I got it set up on my phone. And then I got my email cleared and took care of a couple of like admin tasks. Then I hit the gym, came back, had a healthy breakfast, and like now I'm streaming. So like today was like one of the very first days where I got everything kind of done. Like, all right, wow. Sam, you now have mod powers on my Twitch stream. Congratulations. I need to remember to promote more people that I know to mods so that if there's anybody rowdy in chat, they can banhammer them instantaneously without me having to like pay close attention to everything. But yeah, so like I've been promising myself to like do better on some stuff, and this week I've been actually fulfilling on those promises. I'm playing less games and like getting to the things, and yeah, I'm excited to begin my Obsidian journey. It's
you've wrested yourself from the grasp of Dyson Sphere Simulator.
I did play some Dyson Sphere this morning too.
Okay, but you got everything else done. So you got everything done.
I did most of the things that I promised myself I was going to do today, or requested of myself, probably a better term for it. And then I also managed to fuck around for a bit and play some Dyson Sphere, but didn't let it get out of hand. And honestly, I think it's winding down. So I'm going to do this to this very fashionable Asian lady here. And yeah, so it's like not huge news, but I don't know. Like my health, my well-being goes like up and down in waves, and it's like, you know, I'm always just sort of, I see myself like sort of descending and going down and doing worse, and I try to just sort of make sure that things don't fall off the rails too bad, and then at some point in the future I, you know, make a commitment to try to swing it back up the other way when I know that it's like kind of getting bad. And then, you know, I put in some effort. It kind of is painful. It kind of sucks. And then I'm really happy I did. And it like starts to get better. And, you know, I have to start a lot of emails with, hey, sorry for taking so long to write you back. But it ends up turning out just fine in the end. Welcome, Creative Caliber. First time chatter. It's great to see that people are showing up on Twitch without me having to like spam across social media and everything. It's great to have like the Twitch chat in here. You know, that I'm watching the follower count grow every single stream. There's subs, people are subbing, which is fucking awesome. And you know, we're getting the Discord thing set up a little bit. We added a permission, so now I'm not going to spam the whole Discord to let people know I'm going live. There is a role for Twitch notifications, people can sign up for it when they sign up new for the server now, but like if you want to be added to that role, I don't know how to do it. I can definitely do it manually. So for the time being, since there's like 40 people listening or whatever, just DM me and I'll like add the role to you. If you're already an existing server member and you want to get a ping whenever I go live, so you can come join me, hang out, do your own live studies, chit chat. You know, it's like a time where I'm going to be on the voice chat hanging out if you want to do that. So, you're welcome to DM me if you want to be added to the list of notifications. Otherwise, Dustin was working on it. He can, maybe figure out a better solution for that in the next couple of days.
I believe we actually have a roles thing to set people up for notifications for going live already.
There is a role, but like, how do you add the role? How do you get the role?
There's a channel called Get Roles Here. You go in there and you like click one of the.
Hell yeah! Okay, don't DM me then. Go to Get Roles Here, and you can click that, and you will be notified whenever I go live on Twitch through Discord. That's the way I would do it.
Makes sense.
It totally works. That's how I got the notification this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Awesome. Hey, that's great. We're day by day, we are absolutely getting better at this whole thing, and I'm super stoked. Like, it's been Dustin has been a huge help because I'm like, it's just one too many tasks, especially because I was saying I'm like I'm not in like an upswing right now. Not been taking care of myself that much this month. The returning back from vacation, you'd think I'd be like fully recharged and everything. Not the case. Instead, it's just like it's taking me a little bit of time to like get my feet back under me and start to get good habits going again. But as this stuff is, even though I haven't been like great, like I've been getting awesome help, and then now things are getting better. And I'm like not like horribly behind on everything. Well, I'm not horribly behind on everything. Like there's some stuff I am like about 3 weeks late, I think, on posting to Patreon, which is an absurdly long time considering how small of a task it is. But hey, that's how this thing goes. It's like, some of these plates, they don't get spun, and I always get back to them eventually. So that's on the list for today. That's in my Obsidian. I don't know if I could. I kind of want to show it, but I don't want to like. I get really shy about showing screens of stuff on Twitch. If I like pull it over. Oh, speaking of screens, for you guys in here. There you go. Oh, so who's got something going on? It would help with Twitch engagement if there was a tiny bit more attention to your Twitch chat window. Otherwise, you're doing great. From Joby Dor. Yes, I 100% agree. I haven't been in the habit of it. Like, one of the hard parts I have about going live on Twitch in the past was that splitting my attention between what I was painting and Twitch chat was really tough. I think with people who are doing other kinds of activities, it's a little easier. But with like art being so demanding on attention, I think it's tough to do. So anybody who's in the voice chat that wants to like call out chat messages, I love seeing that people are in Twitch chat and responding. So I need any help I can get on like making sure that that stuff doesn't go ignored would be great. And then I will try to do my best to build habit out of it too. Oh, doing good at talking and painting at the same time? Absolutely. That's like one of the reasons why I wanted to give this another shot, was because when I get to a certain point in a painting or certain activities like studies, I have absolutely no trouble talking and painting at the same time. But like last night, once I got finished with my study and I was at the point where I needed to work on my main painting, I took one look at it and said, like, there is no way in hell I'm going to be able to do this the way that I like need to while also chatting. So I logged out instantly. And that's going to be the thing. Is like if I can talk and paint, I will. And if I can't, I'm out. And I'm not going to push it, and I'm not going to like do bad work. I'm just going to make time to do the sorts of art that like I can talk and paint with every single day, every weekday at noon. And we'll just keep this consistency going as long as it holds up. One of the big things I'm planning on doing is I want to figure out how to bring on guests who are other Twitch streamers to figure out how we can like do the art thing together. Like I would love to be able to like work with somebody who's art curious, who's like a Twitch streamer, to help them teach them how to like do the basics of drawing and like digital art and do studying and stuff. Because like I know Twitch streamers are always looking for content. Because like for me, I have no shortage of the kinds of things that would be like, you know, art to work on stream. But I know a lot of Twitch streamers, they put in like crazy long hours and they end up having to sit around and like watch YouTube and television and shit just to like make the hours happen. And, you know, like for them, I'm here to like add help them add art content to their list of streaming content that they can do. But I don't know like technically how to do it. Like, do I go on their stream? Do they come on my stream? Like, is there some sort of like way that we're both on each other's stream at the same time? Is it like shared via Discord? And you know, how does that work? I like when it comes to the technology side of things, I'm still a little clueless when it comes to this platform.
The Twitch streamers do this a lot. They tend to be like each streaming on their own stream, but then have their cams visible on each other's streams, and their like voice shows up on both.
Exactly. Like I know it's possible. Like I see it, but I just like I don't know how they do it. Which it's guaranteed it's not complicated. It's probably just like something having to do with their stream layout and Discord. And like if I was an expert at these things, I would already have the answer. But it's gonna be pretty easy to put it all together. Yeah, I've seen like co-streaming where it's like you can go to a website and there's like two streams happening at the same time. And like the streamers are talking to each other. Like I'm aware that exists, but I'm not exactly sure if that's like the standard practice. Because like, I'm new to this space, so I don't know what like the standard expectations are for a lot of stuff. Cheating a little bit right off the bat here. This figure is like kind of floating in from the outside of like, there's a lot of empty space. Like typically I have like some sort of overlap on three sides that I can use to kind of measure out like where stuff is based off of like how far it is away from the edges. But with the figure floating a little bit, I'm gonna cheat a little just to make sure that I have like, because it looks like the whole figure is kind of pushed to the right. I'm all over the place today. So I'm gonna get this structural stuff pinned down and then maybe it is really hard to tell. Let's see if we get the head in the right spot. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post this in the streaming agenda like I did yesterday. Wait, do we have a streaming agenda channel? Yeah. Oh, Dustin deleted it from there. I'm going to post it in the voice chat here. So anybody who wants to follow along with the same one can do that. Studies, reference images. There we go. Okay. Okay, now that I have the head in the right spot, the whole width of the body is actually not too far off, but as I suspected, the leg is like a little bit off. It's funny, like, you know, when I first started doing this, I couldn't see where anything was. It was like, I knew that everything was kind of wrong, but I couldn't tell, like, what was wrong or why. And now things just, like, scream out to me. And so rather than relying too much on what is like the rough lines I've initially laid in, I can just sort of see like where it is on the other screen without having to like fight it too bad, which is really good. That's like one of the big things I wanted to learn from doing this. Just be able to spot proportions and things from sight better. Every time I would try to do life drawing or like, plein air painting, I would struggle with this so badly. How to use Squad Stream article. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out later. I'm like chugging water over here. I didn't bring a big old water bottle to the gym with me because I wasn't going to be there for that long. And I came back and I was like, I felt like I was drowning out in the air. It's just like I couldn't. Like I normally don't feel like I need to drink water all day, but boy, yeah, just like 30 minutes in the gym and I was absolutely beat up. That first day back in is always such a bear because like, just like a couple of sets and like, you can be like really creaky for the next several days. It's like not so bad once you get the habit going, but I was thinking about it and I realized the last time I was at the gym was before I moved to Florida, and that was 4 years ago. So it's like been longer than 4 years, which is crazy to me.
What kind of stuff were you doing in the gym today?
One of the big ambitions I have is to start doing face pulls again regularly. I need to work my upper back because my posture has been getting progressively worse as I've been getting out of shape. I've got that like iconic gamer shrimp posture.
Oh yeah, the shrimp.
Yeah,
Classic.
and so like I found that like when I was working, like, okay, this is like 5 years ago. It feels like it was a year ago, but like 5 years ago when I was working out, I did like I did about 3 months or so. 3 or 4 months of like, 3 or 4 times a week in the gym. And then I went to Gen Con and like people kept telling me, oh, hey, I didn't recognize you at first. And I was like, I didn't lose that much weight. I didn't put on tons of muscle. I dressed the same. My haircut was the same. Like I didn't look that different. My conclusion was that like as a result of me like strengthening my just like basics and like getting my back a little stronger, I was standing differently, and people were not recognizing because they didn't read my posture instantly. And I was like, that I could really go for more of that. I could really go for like, my first impression of people is somebody who stands up straight, who looks like physically capable. I don't need to like read like I'm some sort of bodybuilder or whatever, but I would like to look like I'm a physically capable person who's like not on the verge of being disabled because of how bad their posture is, like,
Right.
and so like, I'm a pretty tall guy. So it's like, if somebody's tall and they're, I'm decently broadly built, like I could give a decently commanding, impression on first blush, which would be nice, good first impression just from like the way I'm standing. And, so I'm getting in there and I'm making sure to work on core and back stuff first and foremost, and then trying not to avoid legs, and then whatever else I've got energy for is fine. Like I don't really care about, glamour muscles or whatever. I care about being able to stand up straight. So yeah, I went and looked around all the gyms in my area, and the YMCA was not only was it not that long of a bike ride to get down there, but it didn't have any really insane streets that I need to follow or cross, which was huge. It's just huge. Like I don't know what it's like where you guys live, but like the basically everywhere I've ever lived out in the suburbs, there's just like streets that are more or less highways that while it's theoretically possible to cross them on foot or on a bike, it's not practically possible. And so I wanted, if I'm going to like be able to bike to the gym, I need to pick a location that is going to make for a reasonable ride. And so, you know, I've got an option. That's part of the reason I moved to Sarasota is because it's a pretty small town. And so I'm able to ride there pretty comfortably in the morning, you know, even before the sun comes up. Throw the headlamp on the bike, and I can get down there at 6 a.m. if I want to, before it gets too hot outside. And it could be a really nice little quiet moment, nice little quiet start to my day. So, Adam, what have you been working on recently?
I have that one painting I've been scratching away at for like over a month that I've been dealing with the whole not fixing problems in the first stages and dealing with the fallout of the consequences. So I've been doing that. We've been doing Weekend Warriors basically every weekend, doing small markets. I'm going to be leaving for driving to BC for about a week next week for another event, which is going to be fun.
Did you not apply to Gen Con, or did you not get in?
We're not doing anything in the States right now. We're just keeping it in Canada. Yeah.
I knew people that traveled from Australia to go to Gen Con in the past. Like,
wow.
If you're going to do a US con, I would say aim for Gen Con. Because I heard I heard really, really crazy numbers from people who are like, I don't know, they're fine, but they're not like world-class artists. Like it still continues to be like easily one of the best artist alleys in the world, I think.
Where is Gen Con?
Indianapolis.
Whoa.
A city that has some, if you ask Hank Green, it sounds like it's got some stuff going on, but I think just about anyone else in the world will say it doesn't have a lot going on.
It's got Gen. Well, I think that's part of the power of having a convention somewhere where there's nothing going on.
It's part of the best cons are ones that have a draw, so people budget and travel specifically for it. There's not a lot of those. Most conventions are, somebody decides they're going to do it the last minute. They're going to spend, $100 or whatever on a combination of tickets and food and stuff, and they're going to like hang out and look around. But the people that you want are the ones that like budget all year for the event, who are in for $500 of stuff that they're going to buy while they're there. And like that's your market. And like most conventions I think have a pretty small percentage of those people wandering around. So it doesn't really matter if like, you're appealing to like the people that are there because they're not budgeting to spend that much money. But like with Gen Con, people are potentially going to spend thousands of dollars while they're there. And they are like saving up year round to make sure that happens. And yeah, so like, you'll hear about a lot of sort of middle grade artists who are not big worldwide names, who don't have large social media followings, who are just kind of like regular working artists pulling 5-figure numbers consistently, like lots of them pulling 5-figure numbers out of a place like Gen Con. So definitely worth the hassle, I would say.
It's good to know because, it's like, I think for us, we're not quite sure how to solve the logistics problems of like the legalities of bringing, like, we definitely have to figure out how to like ship stuff ahead of time and
I wouldn't know anything about doing crime, but definitely ask some of your Canadian peers. I mean, I know plenty of Canadian artists who are there every year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We've talked to a few of them that are on the circuit, and some of them are like, I think they have ways of making it more or less legal, and others just say, be sneaky.
Yeah. Be sneaky.
Be sneaky. But,
yeah. Commit crimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't commit crimes.
Listen, crimes are cool, but we shouldn't do them. The real it's like smoking. Like, no one should smoke, but are we going to say smoking is uncool looking? No,
Yeah,
it's wrong.
you
It
don't
looks
want to
cool.
lie.
Smoking looks so fucking cool.
Yeah. Especially children. Especially when children do. It looks really cool, which is why it's so wrong. It's very, very wrong.
Yeah.
No one should do it.
It's too much power.
Even if they want to look really cool, which they would.
And they would, if they did, they would give me a lot more reference to draw cool looking characters. But like, no.
Nope.
Yeah, that's what we need more of in this world. More references of children smoking.
I'm just like,
Totally.
I'm on Twitch now. I got to test the limits of the TOS just a little bit. Auto mod. Let's see. Who's
man.
getting auto modded? I've recently discovered how shit I am at faces. I think I'm going to allow that. Sorry, Phil, for getting caught in the auto mod. Wait, what? It's not. I gotta tune the auto mod or something. It's not giving me the buttons to like allow it.
Man, so I checked out Kickstarter,
Yeah. What'd you see?
and all of it is people selling unlicensed merchandise of like popular IP.
Yeah. It's like it's like Disney princesses, like all the way down. Like
Yep.
it's like, oh, here we did a 30-pin collection of Disney princesses that we don't have the license to. I remember seeing like whole print campaigns where all it was like Star Wars and Ninja Turtles, and they were all named things like, it was like a portrait of Darth Vader, and the name of the print was like Angry Space General. I love it. Speaking of crimes,
Oh man.
I think they policed some of the most egregious stuff, but I think for like small pin campaigns, I just don't. I think that they just they'll sometimes put a stamp of approval on campaigns. They'll be like projects we love, and I don't think they're going to say projects we love to something that's blatantly criminal.
Okay, yeah.
So if you do a bit of crime, a bit of light intellectual property crime, I don't think that they're going to celebrate you. But I don't think you're going to get taken off the platform.
All right.
I heard that I was speaking with
Horrible
the person who runs the booth for Sakimi-chan, and she was saying how they're apparently in the States, they're starting to crack down a lot more on non-fan art in like major events, which they weren't before.
Yeah.
Like sending like agents and representatives to shut people down.
I've heard that for years. I've been hearing them say that for 10 years. If Sakimi-chan is like, if somebody who's like working the Sakimi-chan booth is like, I hear they're going to start cracking down on people. It's like Sakimi-chan has been out there as one of the most prolific offenders for like a decade. And so if she's not getting absolutely busted, then everyone else can kind of like breathe a little bit of relief.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. It's like she was in like a con in the States where like for the first time they did get shut down. So I think she's the lightning rod of she's getting hit first.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, you've been to cons. Like there's a big culture of like flagrant IP violation. It's just, you know, someone like Sakimi-chan is like, you know, sexualizing it and also, you know, doing it on a larger scale than the average, even like a artist who's doing a lot of cons, whose main bread and butter is fan art. Sakimi-chan is just a bigger fish.
Yeah. And I think they're also just like the difference between an artist alley, you know, fan artist versus a big booth, like double end cap table vendor.
But at some cons they will say like, hey, listen, no fan art in the artist alley. If you're going to do fan art, you have to get a dealer's booth.
Oh.
So it's like, it really comes down to the events. Like some of them will be really, really specific for one thing or the other. You know, some of them will be, absolutely no, the artist must be present. And the other ones will be like, you need to give the information for your proxies if you want a proxy to sell for you.
Right.
You know, some of them will be like, if you're going to have proxies, you need to have a dealer's room table. While other ones will be like, if you're going to, we don't allow artist proxies in the dealer's room. You need to make sure to register them through the artist alley. It's like, everyone's got their own weird, dumb list of rules that is like 20 pages long. Right. And if you're going to do anything that could rattle anybody, like you need to make sure to just like browse through all of the rules and possibly send some emails to some people who are going to not appreciate it. They really hate getting they're like willing to write like 30 pages of rules that like some of them even contradict each other, and then they'll get really mad at you for being like, hey, can I do this or not? I think a lot of the people who are working for those cons are doing so as volunteers, so it's like somebody who's like getting like a free badge and maybe like some good vibes, like who now has to answer like hundreds of emails and answer the same questions over and over again. But still, like, these conventions being so non-standard makes it difficult to know like what is and is not allowed.
Right. Makes sense.
Okay. Let's see. I am a little off here. Huh. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Con talk. We did a lot of it yesterday too.
Yeah, we can.
It's like I used to do it like constantly. It was like my main way of talking about art. But I haven't been to a con in several years, so I'm like wondering whether or not I should maybe chill on the con talk a bit. It's like, there's got to be a point where all like the experience changes, like where everything I've learned over the last decade or so becomes completely irrelevant because the world just moves on. I keep expecting that to be true. I mean, the last time I had a straight job in like the games industry was like a decade ago. I still imagine that things are like more or less the same as they were last time I was there. But like, it would make sense if it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I always get really scared about that like all the, I don't know, everything's just going to change and it's just going to be impossible to like get discovered as like an artist and stuff.
That like, you're over 30 and you're fully boomerfied at this point?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like prone to worrying though.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Pretty soon we're going to have some very young boomers. I feel like the threshold to become a boomer is like gradually getting lower.
I mean, people, I wonder if boomer is still going to be used to describe somebody who's like old and out of touch generations after all the boomers are like dead. Because right now, like the boomers are still, they're filling up restaurants, they're buying real estate, they're doing all kinds of things. There's a point where all the boomers are going to be in retirement homes, right? Like that a boomer is going to be somebody who's on life support. They have like no role in society, except for Mitch McConnell, who's going to be 130 years old and he's still going to be like running the Senate. It's just going to be, it's like those Buddhist monks that like mummify themselves. They're just going to have like a mummified corpse of Mitch McConnell sitting in the chair.
Just this like gruesome idol.
They're gonna take the mummified corpse of Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden and like sit them across from each other so they can like eternally scowl at each other through their like mummified teeth.
Brilliant.
Okay, so since we got some Canadians in here, what the hell's going on in Canada right now? Justin Trudeau got dumped by his wife? What? I've only like see this in passing. Like, how do you get divorced while also being like in charge of a country? What's going on?
I have no idea. I mean, you heard about it before me?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like you'd think it's like even if there's problems, they got to be pretty bad for it to be demonstrated publicly.
Is it? Yeah, because isn't that kind of like the stereotype? Is that like you're a public figure, you grit your teeth and smile until you can get out of the public eye, and then you work things out? Like, how crazy does it have to be to get dumped while you're prime minister?
Yeah, I mean, like Joe Biden had like a crack pipe turn up in the White House, and like that family's still together. Like,
it was to be fair, it was a baggie of cocaine. All right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
In the presidential library, where he's doing his studies.
Does cocaine fall in the illegal but cool category? Like a child smoking a cigarette?
I would say it is more cool to do if you are the president of the United States doing cocaine, in the Lincoln Library is cooler than a child smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like 80. Like, damn.
Damn.
If I could be, if I were the president of the United States, I would also be doing party drugs in the White House. A thing that is never going to happen, but I'm saying theoretically, it would be very cool, and I would do it.
I mean, it's called the White House for a reason.
Exactly, man. I'm sure nobody's made that joke. Pulled that out of thin air.
Yeah, I don't know. Canada's weird, man. It's like we have so much less going on than the States, but it's still like a disaster.
But okay, I don't feel like you answered my question though. Like, is there some rumblings that something extraordinary is happening for this to go down, or are they just like, listen, like, president's got a private life too. We're just going to respect that, or not president, but prime minister has got his personal life, and that's just his own business, and we don't think anything extraordinary is happening here.
I mean, there's people talking shit and like making compilation photos of Justin Trudeau kissing.
Tofu
male leaders
Senshi just rated me with 144 viewers. Thank you so much, Tofu Senshi. Whoa. We got to switch to something that's interesting to talk about.
Art, back to art.
Back to art. Yeah. So speaking of being a master at art and the secrets therein, like we should we should discuss the secret knowledge now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right, everyone, gather around.
God, I've been waiting for you to reveal the secrets.
That's the thing is, did I ever tell you about the tips and tricks guy? Did you get it? I was like, I was doing these these series of talks on the Midjourney server, right? And I'm not talking about AI at all. I'm there teaching like,
oh yes, I was there for that.
Basics of art. You got to see that? That was so funny.
That was so strange.
It was so strange, but that is going to be an all-timer for me. Like I love that guy. He was so committed to what, I'm not sure if it was a bit. It didn't seem like it was a bit, but so like I'm doing this talk. And, I'm just doing basically this. I'm doing a demo. I'm chit-chatting. People are coming on stage. I'm talking to them. And they're asking questions about art. They're asking questions about AI, whatever. I'm doing my best to answer. And in the very waning minutes, some guy goes, listen, you told me, he's got a thick Russian accent, but I'm not going to try to do it. He's like, you told me there were going to be tips and tricks. And so I am a good artist, and my wife and I, we made time to come here to this session because you told us there were going to be tips and tricks, and we waited through the whole thing, and there's no tips and no tricks. So I was like, what?
I don't mean to be rude, but you tell me this is going to happen.
And I was like, what do you want me to tell you? He's like, I don't know. You told me you were the one who said there was going to be tips and tricks. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, so next week I promise I will do tips and tricks. And I think I showed like some stuff with some hotkeys or something the next week. And he came on the mic and he shows up again. And I was like, is this satisfactory? He's like, yes, I came back. And this week you had tips and tricks. And that's what I wanted. And I was like, okay, man, thank you. But it's like over time I've started to develop this like love-hate thing with like this idea that there's secret knowledge, right? Like everyone's waiting for, you tolerate people talking about art because that sometime they're going to start talking about the secret knowledge. And it's like, what is it? Like fucking Xenu or whatever. They're finally going to open the secret manuals because you've reached a high enough level, and they're going to finally tell you what are the secret tips and tricks that are going to be transformative, that are going to completely redefine who you are as a person and as an artist. And like it never comes, and people are left. They're like, when I was in college, there was a guy who came back and he did 3 degrees because every single time he never felt like he fully got like the secret knowledge that was going to, give him the ability to be an artist.
Yeah.
Like a real artist. Not like a student, not like an amateur, but like a real artist. And so I see these people that they're sort of waiting forever. like looking, trying to find who's the guru out there that's going to give them the secret knowledge. And so my new tip and slash trick is that I want to tell everyone there is no secret knowledge. That like what you see is what you get, and that this is kind of it. And that like there's always something you can learn, but like most of the stuff that you can learn in the world of art is like emanates from just making a bunch of stuff and like possibly mixing in focused study, but like definitely just trying to make the thing that you really want to make over and over again until you get good at it. And this idea that you are like sort of in this perfunctory stage before you get to the real art, before you become the real artist and like emerge from your art cocoon into the artist you're going to be someday, that like, yeah, you're just sort of whiling time away until you become high enough level to be able to accept the secret knowledge. It's like all bullshit. Like we're doing here, this is it. When you sit around and you like poke away at a painting forever until you're absolutely sick of it, and then you post it on social media and it doesn't get as many hits as you want, like you're doing it. That's the game. That's the case. I mean, that is like it sometimes something busts open or whatever, but like that's just like what it is to be an artist, and that's fine. Like we should just be more accepting of like the fact that like we are who we are. The stuff that is apparently happening is what is really happening, and there's not some like secret layer that like makes it all make sense deep down. This is it. Like there is no secret knowledge.
So was there ever a point in like throughout your career where like you felt like I have enough knowledge to create whatever I want, and exactly like you said, like that studying idea? Like,
I thought that about a month into like learning art. I was like, oh, I'm better than some of the people in the comic book store. Like it was just like the Dunning-Kruger effect, like in hyperdrive. I was just an idiot. Like, I mean, following that, there's been times where it's like I look at the numbers and I go, I'm making enough money from art to be able to support an ongoing lifestyle, and I need to be strategic about what I'm making and how I'm doing marketing and all that kind of stuff afterwards. But that's like, that's again, there's no secret knowledge to that either. It's just like learning to do art, like learning to do marketing and brand building and stuff. And it's that's just a matter of economics. It doesn't mean that I'm like a real artist because I'm made an income. That just means that there are like stakes to the work now that weren't there previously.
Mm-hmm.
So when are we? I mean, that's nice and all, but when are you going to tell us the secret?
Yeah, when are we going to get to the tips and tricks?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want the tips and tricks now.
That's a good palate cleanser, but come on.
I remember you saying something in a podcast once, Pete, about receiving advice on how to paint when you were just starting out, and none of it making sense to you whatsoever. But then coming back 10 years later, hearing the same piece of advice and being like, "Oh, I get it now." Like there are actually things you can tell people that might make them better at art, but only if they've like unlocked it by like grinding for enough experience points.
I don't even like the idea of experience points, but like that's true. It's like there's like so much info out there that's like useful and correct. Well, it's like correct, but it's not useful. Like, you can learn. You can ask somebody like, "What's the secret to your success?" And they can be like, "Email marketing." I got really good practice about building a mailing list, and then I stayed on those practices for 10 years. And you could be like, okay, like that's not useful to me at all today, and it's probably not even going to be useful to me 10 years from now, because like the rules are all going to change. Like somebody can be right in all the stuff that they're saying, and it could still be utterly useless to you. Or like even just like could be like, well, what's the most important thing about painting? And they'll be like, oh, it's all about hierarchy. And you can go, okay, like maybe it's true. but also who cares? Like, why is that the advice that matters? It doesn't add up to like, it doesn't change the way that you're going to like think. It's not going to change the choices you're going to make. It's even if it's all 100% true. So like, what's the point of it? Is the question I keep asking myself over and over again. Because like, I have many times I've like mentored artists, and if I can spend a long time having a long form conversation with an artist, I can give them advice that will transform their life. Sometimes I'm not the one who has the advice that can actually be transformative, but there are cases where I have given advice to somebody that has transformed their life as an artist, as a person. And that's like the goal. That's what you always want to do when you're giving advice to people, is like make the most positive possible outcome. But when it comes to broadcasting, I mean, the level of difference you can make in someone's life is so much lower. It's like, in order to like be effective as an advice giver, like you need to know the context that the advice exists in, which means you need to have some sort of working relationship with the person you're talking to. And that's only possible on like a one-on-one scale, which is not, it's like good if you make time for it, but it's not scalable. Like, so like everybody who's out there like reading a self-help book or listening to a podcast or whatever, they're never going to get that much out of it because none of it's tailored for them. And that's just like, the more true something is, the less actionable it is. So like, I mean, not more true. I mean, the more universally true, the less actionable it is. So it's like, if you're in the advice giving game and you want to like really scale up and give tons of advice to tons of people through YouTube, self-help books, whatever, you're never actually going to like transform someone's life unless they're, there's some really weird situation happening. But it is possible to do, and like if you really know somebody well and you have the like real daily contact with them or weekly contact, and that's tough, because you as an advice giver you want to do good by the people that you're working with.
Mm.
And I think that's why it feels like there's some sort of secret knowledge, because there's always this sense that like you just need to hear the right words and that everything's going to change, and that you're always on the cusp of like, if only I had heard the right words, my whole life is going to change. And that's like potentially true, but the words that you need are like individual to you and not something that is like a maxim that you're going to get from a YouTube video ever. Because like all the good advice is all out there already, it's like you can sort of you can expand your worldview some from like listening to broadcasts or reading published books, but to like actually have something that's really going to bust loose and change for you, it's like, yeah, you need to work with somebody closely. Like, get a therapist, get a coach, get something.
So in that sense, if you want to get better art, it's like more like get a mentor or get someone that can really give you that.
Well, if you want to get better art, you
impact.
just make a lot of art. Like, generally that works.
Mm.
But there's always other stuff, like sometimes there's just like a couple of little skills in your repertoire that you're just missing and you don't realize that they're not there, and you need somebody to like really hold your feet to the fire to make sure that you're doing those things to go that last mile. Some of it's just encouragement to like, you're really, really close to, it's like that meme where like the guy is trying to dig the diamonds and he's like turning around at the last second. Like, you need somebody who's got enough context to be able to tell you exactly like how close you are to the diamonds from like a third person perspective, so that you don't end up like eternally slaving away at something that's never going to pan out, but like, or turning around and skipping out at the last second before like you're about to get a big payoff. Like, you need some context from the outside. Everybody does. So it's like sometimes that comes from people who know you well in your life, a partner or like friendships. But also, like, a lot of people have people in their lives that just talk out of their ass all the time and don't know what they're saying, and like, they get horrible advice or horrible like anti-encouragement from like their family and stuff. So it's like to be able to like have any advice actually be meaningful and like really feel like you're getting to the secret knowledge. It's like it's all useless unless like the person who's talking to you actually knows you a little bit at least.
I feel like also you can be told knowledge, but you're not going to understand it unless you consolidate it through your own action. It's like I've received lessons from people that, it's like, okay, I understand it on a superficial level, but when I actually go and act on it or act on something and experience it, I think that's the only real way to get that whatever type of learning locked in. And I think the desire.
True.
Sorry.
I'm just agreeing with you.
Okay, yeah, and I think that the desire to always be seeking the secret knowledge is like a clever way of procrastination, where you're in this. It's a lot easier to watch a YouTube video than it is to sit down and paint, and you can feel like you're learning more from watching a video.
I had somebody ask me for advice on like character design, and they were showing me that they were using a mind map for character design.
A mind map.
Yeah, like they were just writing words.
Uh-huh.
And then like they thought this would help them design better characters. And I don't know.
I've done it.
It works for some people.
That's actually how I did a lot of my most iconic work.
Okay.
I started with a list of keywords.
Yeah, I know like Wiley Becker does that a lot too, and she's got some really crazy work.
For some people, like that's the thing that they need. It's like in a lot of cases, like what people need is different from each other, and to know like I think it's a good idea to like hear about process stuff like that and try it out and see if it works for you. But it's important to like dump it if it doesn't. But also, it's entirely possible that you like you hear about some cool thing, you try it out, you do it 10% wrong, you don't realize why it's not working, you dump it. Then you try it out again 5 years later with a slightly different context, and it becomes the thing that's life-changing for you. You go, oh, fuck. So close.
There's, I'm not sure if this is contextually important, but I was talking with one of the guys about this exact same thing, and they were trying to create a character and have it go with a particular story, and I said, what are your keywords? And when we looked at his keywords, it was actually basically like, okay, these are the 6 things that come to mind when you say that keyword, and I can already see a number of stories. And they just, for them, they just couldn't see past the it's the forest through the trees situation is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't really see that keyword had so many possibilities. And I said, if you pick one of those possibilities and then you start playing with the camera angle, is it low, is it high, is it wide, is it far away, is it super up close and intimate, what are you going for? And there's so much to that, and some of it's experience, some of it's exposure to new ideas and new concepts, but we all come at these things in different ways, and it fascinates me that some people's minds,
weird, because
you need to warm up to an idea before it,
Somebody was just asking in chat about source for pins. I didn't answer this, so I'm pulling the name of it. I can never remember it because it's a Chinese company. I'm pulling the name out of my email right now.
Are you talking about pin manufacturing, like for like enamel pins, or are you talking about pin? Okay.
Yeah. I'm posting it in Twitch chat. Kunshan Juye pins is what I've used in the past. They've always done really great work for me. And they were asking for projects too. I'm Googling them, and yeah, this looks right. It's not a fancy looking operation, but they just the quality of materials has been really high. Their ability to translate my designs in a way that like elevates it slightly instead of degrades it slightly has always been really impressive. Because like typically when you hand off a design to somebody, you just see like all the line weight gets kind of sapped out of it, and like it's all these like little 2% changes all over it that makes it kind of like softens it up and smushes it out and makes it a little bit worse. But like they do the opposite of that. Their art department is just really good. And they'll even do like sculpted pieces, and for like they'll do like sculpted pieces. They can do like 3D sculpted stuff, and they do a really good job interpreting on the sculptural things as well. And the prices are all fantastic, and the artwork processing's free. It is so much cheaper than going through a U.S. intermediary, and like the delivery time, the turnaround and delivery time from them has been fantastic, even though they're shipping out of China. So I would say I'm recommending them.
Do you have where are you
Just to
posting?
confirm, it's JIAU.
I'll post the link in the chat here too. I posted the name in the Twitch chat, and then I'm posting a link here in the Discord chat. And then I also posted the link to the Discord in the Twitch chat for anybody who wants to ever join the Discord community, as well as like ever wants to hang out on voice chat while we're doing this. Like this is where we're doing it. It's Huckleberry Art Academy Discord. And yeah, you can come join us any day. I'm here streaming every day at noon to 2 o'clock Eastern. Speaking of noon to 2, I'm an hour into this. I should start pinning down some of these details. Sorry, Eric. I was like the chat was distracting me.
You're right, buddy. I was trying to catch up. I came in late. I was trying to catch up on the conversation. You know that education is like kind of a thing for me. So
I know. Yeah, me too. Anytime education comes up, I like get sucked into it. It's such a difficult problem to solve. There are so many ways in which you can do education bad.
Well, you know what? I want to throw this out there in
Sure.
case you have a thought process on this. One of my favorite professors. He was very demanding, but he challenged things in a particular way. My favorite project from my freshman year, one of the things that was most profound was we were given an image that we had to replicate. So this was design class, right? Which I know you're really big on design. Like all of your Angelarium stuff is very design focused. So we had to reproduce this image, but the task was you couldn't use the same materials that anybody else had used previously. So if your art went up on the wall and somebody used watercolor or acrylic, and you used it after theirs was assessed, you didn't get a mark. You got marked down, and a lot of paintings, a lot of work ended up on the ground. Because he was like, we're going to be brutal about this. So these pieces are destroyed; they're worthless. So one of the ones that was most profound to me was somebody had killed a hornet's nest, and they had used the body of the hornets to reproduce their Volkswagen Beetle. Sadly, they didn't have beetles; they had hornets, and it was very elegant.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
Right. And but they got great marks for that. But I got published in Design Magazine as a freshman because I sat down and meditated on this for my final, and I used water. I took plastic bags, and I pinched them in different places to create gradients, and I used water to reproduce my image. I love the idea that when you're designing something, when you're thinking about a challenge, you have specific limitations, and those limitations are the barrier that you get to bounce your ideas off of. And that's how I perceived it. I perceived it in a very particular way. Everybody that was involved in this class, involved in this project, pulled from all sorts of wonderful things, but I was like, okay, how do I stand out, and how do I pick the one thing that would be the most difficult to produce this out of? And water was my go-to, like fluid water.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a process of elimination, and that's what design is about, and in some cases that's what learning is about. So process of elimination is how we solve problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's this push and pull that we deal with all the time, where it's like everywhere you go, people say the real path to success is to drill down. You got to drill. Like, Where are you going to plant your flag and then build your entire career on that one thing, right? Look at this guy. He did angels. What's your thing going to be, right? And so you propose this to a bunch of college sophomores, and they all panic. Rightly so, because it's like, how are you going to pick the thing that's going to be you? How are you going to define your brand? How are you going to define the focus of your study for the next 10, 20 years, whatever, right? Like, who are you as a human being? What is unique about your taste? What's unique about your perspective? And it's like, what a useless, in a way, totally correct, but in another way, what a useless piece of advice, because, like, it presumes that you know what you're going to be able to drill down on. And so, like, there needs to be a point, this process of elimination you're talking about is like, I think, a really good insight, because there's going to need to be a point where you say, like, no to, like, a whole lot of stuff. And in order to say no to something, you have to try it. You can't say no to it in your mind. You have to say no to it on the page. I really hate the idea that people, like, they process through all these ideas in their head and they're like, these are the good ones, these are the bad ones. It's like, you kind of don't know until you actually, like, try it out and see it's something you really want to do, or you really have insight on, or maybe your brain's just tricking you. Like, it's important to, like, really try out these things and see through process of elimination, what are the things that we actually want to dedicate ourselves to as artists? Like, it's a big, big question. It's a really hard question. Like, what are we going to be spending the next 10 years working on is not something that we should take lightly. And so if you're going to, like, I always say people, like, oh, yeah, go ahead and experiment. But to frame it as, like, a process of elimination, I think is actually really fair.
I think that a nice little interjection on what you just said is also the way that it's been proposed is like a big white blank piece of paper. You have too many options and nothing that is limiting you, nothing that is saying you have to work within these confines. I think I don't know your entire history. I know a little bit about you, but you managed to dial down on something, and
I managed to dial in something early, fast. I got to it really early. It was like senior year of college, and I had laid out the next 20 years of my art career, which is rare.
And myself, I went from wanting to do comic books to fine art to cover to illustration and painting, and then from there to animation, and then from animation to modeling and sculpting, and then that went into scenic art, and then went to teaching, and then went to toys and manufacturing. And toys and manufacturing, 3D printing is what I've been doing for the last decade. That to me is really where I sit.
When you said modeling, while I'm in the context of me working on this, I imagined you going down the runway.
We're gonna fight, dude. But no, modeling in the animation in the 3D animation industry.
No, I know what you mean. I think in the rest of the context, it all made sense. I just thought it was a funny idea.
It is. But that's the last thing I want is anybody fixated and staring at me. I like people looking at work and not thinking about me at all.
You're like, I make money with my body.
I make money with my body. Well, in a lot of ways, we all trash our bodies.
Don't we all make money with our body, if you really think about it?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I knew that I wanted to do characters and storytelling. It's just that finding the right medium was partly based on where the industry was and where I was at a particular time. So I've done a lot of experimentation. I've gotten to be exposed to a lot of different things, but it has made it very difficult in some ways to be the fixated, focused artist that you happen to be. I've got a lot of knowledge, but I've also had a lot of struggles. So it's
here in the Hollywood Hills, got a lot of knowledge.
It's not the same journey, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm also on the spectrum, which I wonder if that's a part of the reason why I was like, hey, I have this area of high interest that I'm going to dedicate my entire life to. Like, how much is that related? I mean, let's just say maybe not zero, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe. I'm not. I can't comment on that because I have.
There's no way to do an experiment to like try to like figure out, hey, does being on the spectrum mean that you have an easier time picking what you're going to do in your career? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Interesting
know.
idea.
I'm sure that you've had the tangential thought I'm trying to have is that I'm sure that you've had some of the same things that I've had, which is when you're in an industry for more than a handful of years, you can sort of predict the future in a way, or you can predict the trends because you're paying attention to what you're doing and what's going on around you. And that's what happened to me at the end of my college, going into my second degree, as well as my time teaching, realizing that 3D printing is going to be a serious part of our industry and that I needed to be part of that. I'm sure that you're also tracking certain trends and so.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like, but the hard part is it's like I remember looking at 3D printing, 15, 12, 15 years ago or whatever, and I'm just like, wow, this is gonna be a part of the future. But like, there's all this like bullshit also, right? Where it's like, oh, we're going to have 3D printers printing 3D printers. Like, it's going to reshape manufacturing, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's got, like, some big brain, like, what do you call it? Like, the sort of investment banker take where they're like, actually, in the next 5 years, we're no longer going to people are no longer going to be doing manual labor because 3D printing technology is going to advance so fast. And you just like, as somebody who works, who actually cares about it and pays attention to it, you go like, these people are all fucking annoying. I'm sick of all this. This is all bullshit. I hate it. And then like, 15 years later, 3D printing's still 3D printing, and it's like part of a larger story.
Yep.
And it's like a major industry, but it's not like it hasn't completely reshaped everything in the world. And like the same thing is true of a lot of what gets labeled as disruptive technologies. It's like the same cycle over and over again. It almost seems like each time like the sort of people who are excited about it get more and more delusional.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I would also say this too. I hope we're not going too far afield on the topics.
We are. But go ahead.
It's if you look at the types of people that are using 3D printing and you treat it like a spectrum, you've got the people that are fascinated with the printing technology, but they're not artists, they're not makers, they're just people that go and get files and run them through 3D printers. And then you've got the far other end of the spectrum where people are trying to use it for manufacturing purposes, either in the arts or in film, as well as in let's say high manufacturing like aerospace engineers.
We were watching the kids wanted to watch the Ant-Man movie, and they've got a Anycubic like STL printer. Oh, not STL. The Goop printers like in the background of like Hank Pym's shop, because it's like it's got this bright orange like glass on it, and like back when Ant-Man was being made, that looked super futuristic, and now it just looks like maybe Hank Pym is into Warhammer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. It's the naivete of the movie people who are like, oh, this is cutting edge technology, and it is, but it's also, when you realize what it is, it's really not much more advanced than, say, a blender.
Yeah.
Like a mixing device. So.
But yeah,
it's good. It's good
so you're saying, you've probably got your eye on future technology stuff, and it's like, yeah, I do. And so it's like, I was looking at the AI stuff before it got controversial and everything, and like I was on NFTs before that thing got controversial, because it was like a couple years earlier than like the point where it blew up and tons of stupid money came in and turned it into a big annoying shit show and the apes with all the apes and everything, and like. And it's just like, I keep being really early on these sort of things, and I don't know what to do with any of that, because like being several years early on these things doesn't really add up to, getting any use out of them. Like, I don't actually, me knowing that 3D printing is cool in 2012 didn't change the trajectory of my career. Being into NFTs in 2018 didn't change the trajectory of my career, other than maybe lose me a bunch of Twitter followers in 2020 or 2021, And it's like, what's the next thing? I mean, the next thing, it was like, oh, it's AI. And I was like, okay, I got on that early. I played around with it. I thought it was cool. And then it turned into a massive fucking nightmare on the internet. And then it's like, well, what has that gotten me? Really, I mean, I do lectures in AI spaces. Like, it's fine, but I've never had any of these, like, being early on something reshape who I am. Throughout every single one of these, like, interjections, I've just been painting. I've been making art with the same version of Photoshop the entire time. I've been using the same version of Photoshop for like 15 years or whatever. Like, none of it has been reshaped.
I think that goes back to you as a person, and to some degree myself, and to everybody else that's here and listening. Your core skill set, or your core value as a human being, what you care about, what you fixate on, what you focus on, what you produce, has not changed. And you can add tools and you can remove tools, but if your core value stays the same, you'll always be productive. You'll always be able to make and produce something. I think that because you can use that exact same analogy or that exact same perspective on, oh, I'm going to go to a convention and I'm going to have my main paintings or my main posters or my main prints. That's there. But you know what? Oh, we've got cups and mugs and pins and T-shirts and other types of consumer products as well.
I love consumer products.
Yeah, it's basically, how do we make a price point, or how do we make multiple price points so we can hit multiple parts of the market or sell to everybody? The same thing is true in production. It's basically what is my core skill set and how can I leverage it in multiple ways? And the same thing is true with Angel Arium and Peter Mohrbacher as an icon, or as a that's not necessarily the right word, but
I'm an idea like Batman.
Yeah, no. What's a brand?
A brand
is the word.
Yeah.
But I think that when you're young and when you're starting out, you don't have anything that can be a brand, other than yourself. And
I don't know. I met some people in their early 20s that for some reason stumble into it and get that going in like crazy early, and it's always surprising to me, but it's like not impossible. And they're making the world harder for everyone else around them. All the other poor art students that have to be in this person's class and see them immediately making progress on their career, and like know that that's what they need, and have absolutely no ability to capture it themselves, because like, it's actually a really hard problem to solve. It's something that typically takes somebody a long time to sort of work out.
Yeah. And I think I was trying to say the exact same thing, but you said it better. And I think that it's, if you look at your history, you might agree with this, but grow where you're at. You knew very quickly who you are, where you wanted to go, and what you wanted to produce to some degree.
Yeah.
And you've leveraged that exceptionally well. It's why you're where you're at in your career and in your product. Some people still need to figure that out, because there's still too many questions, and they're not eliminating things, they're not curating things the way that they may need to do to be at a similar place and time.
It's true. Like, what is the thing that's actually going to make a difference for someone when it comes to growing their art career? Boy, it's hard to say. It's going to be a different thing for everybody. Definitely be better at brand. It's like as soon as you start getting into like the specifics of it, it starts sounding like a fucking Gary Vee video. You know?
See, that's what drives me nuts about.
And he's like,
brands,
it's about gratitude. And you're like, okay, whatever, Gary. Like, what am I going to do with that? You wake up every morning, you journal. I'm so thankful that YouTube continues to be cool and that video games are fun. Fuck. Like, that's not. How do I turn that into $1 million? Like, what am I doing? What's going on in my life?
Well, I think with people like him, the hard part is that they make brand this esoteric thing that is so hard to latch onto, and people like myself, and I'm really cut and dry. I'm like, tell me what to do, give me action items. If you can't do that, get out of my fucking way, because you're a bullshit artist.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a guy, I can't remember if it was this server or another server, and they were just talking about all of that same stuff, and I tried to get him to nail it down to say, what are the action items, what are the things what is A, B, and C and D that need to be done, and I can go and work on that. And the more this person talked, the more I kept saying to myself, maybe not fairly, but I'm like, so you're a bullshit artist. You're not telling me how to make an actionable thing. You're just telling me that you're all about the synergy and buzzwords.
Yeah, I'm into synergy and gratitude. Those are my main values.
I don't know what to do with that.
I'm into branding. I'm into values. I'm into purple hats. It's all big. It's all gonna be huge.
Right. I can't do anything with that though. That to me is.
No, but that's what. Yeah, I think that's where we started with this conversation. Was it's like, hey, it's really great to be able to everyone who's giving advice on the internet always wants to be able to make a big difference. But how do you make a big difference? It's like, okay, you need to give somebody action items. When it comes down to it, I think that's the main thing is you need to be able to tell somebody I want you to do this for me by Friday, and then when that day comes, look at it with them and say, okay, well. Here, based off of what you did this week, here's what I want you to do by next Friday, and to really create a plan. And you can't do that for somebody through broadcasting. It's just not possible. But it is possible. And it's I've done a lot of private mentoring where it's I've managed to help people out in that way sometimes. But there's plenty of other students I've had where I didn't have the secret knowledge for them that helped them progress to the next step in their career or their life or whatever. I can maybe think that maybe that advice out there somewhere for them. Certainly wasn't with me.
But I think that's another thing too, is that every teacher is going to teach you something, and sometimes you hit the secret sauce and it's the thing that they need to hear in that space and time and in that moment, right? But some teachers, sadly, they're great at very specific things, but it's not the right thing for you at that time, And that's when people are like, I hated this teacher. And it's like
Slumbering Giants asking, is this a podcast? And the answer is kind of. This is a Discord voice chat. This is the Huckleberry Art Academy Discord. I'm gonna link it. And I usually, this is my stream, but I have the what do you call it? I hang out in the voice chat, so it's not me rambling at chat while I'm trying to paint, because I'm trying to keep my eyes on the canvas for the most part. And so I have some of the other community members are in here with me, and there's a bunch of really great artists who are here in the chat, and they're hanging out and we're chit chatting about whatever is interesting this morning. So it's kind of like a podcast, but yeah. Upward mobility, that's a pretty good buzzword. I'm kind of stuck I'm in my head, I'm just running through all these different good buzzwords, the Gary V style buzzwords.
Gary V, man, I
kind of admire his thing. He's got his hustle, but it also all those guys who are in that same scene, that whole thing is so toxic and so crazy.
It's very difficult because in some respects Gary and the people around him, they've been fixated on this thought for months and years and so on and so forth. And when they try and translate that thing that they're thinking about to somebody who's being introduced to it for the first time, it's almost like you're a cult leader.
Oh, yes. Culty is exactly what it is. Yeah. I used to, back when I was doing my old podcast, we were like, boy, there sure is some cult vibes happening here too. Like once you start getting it, that's the thing, is like as soon as people start identifying you as a person who has the info, like it lays the groundwork for people giving up on what they previously thought was true in the world and looking to you for answers for everything. And like this idea that like, oh, maybe there's some version of this that all ties together into a grand ideology. And it always feels kind of like the conversation's kind of tugging in that direction. You know, how far are we away from getting to this, to the real shit where we like the, what do you call it? The mentaculus or whatever, where we discover the mathematical formula that defines the universe. You know, how close can we get to like these grand universal truths? And what it ends up always moving towards instead is this sort of like the same 8 pieces of advice that basically every self-help book and podcast has come to over the course of the last, like, I don't know, few hundred years. And then it's like, get plenty of sleep. Don't forget to like go outside, touch grass, socialize, you know, don't be a huge downer to yourself and everyone around you. Like, like it's just like a lot of the basic shit. But if you can build up like the sense that you have like that you are the keeper of the secret knowledge, then like you can sell that to people as though it's like actually insight, which is a great power to feel like you're wielding, but it's like very, very easy to wield irresponsibly. Too tempting for some people.
That's very, you know, if you become the guru, I think that can also be very unfair to the people around you. You know, the most important thing that anybody should ever develop is, besides problem solving, especially if you're an artist, is question everything. You know, why is this person telling me
I'm just imagining Gary V's like, it's all about humility. All right, it's about humility. I'd rather I every morning I wake up and I imagine lions ripping my face off. First thing I do, and that gives me humility. Okay.
That can be just as toxic. I
know it's so stupid.
I mean, I'm horrified just by the idea. It's like, you know, because you know.
I want you to think about your family members being torn apart. I want you to see their limbs separating from their torsos, the blood spurting in every direction. All right. That's what I want you to think about before you do your next podcast. Okay.
Oh my God!
Thanks, Gary.
I'm sure that you're always thinking about the next thing.
Oh my God! I can't not think about the next thing. Otherwise, it's me contemplating everything I've ever done wrong in my life up to this point. Me thinking about the next thing is the shield that keeps the demons at bay.
It's the future. It's all what is the next. So
yeah, if I can think about the future, I'm not thinking about the past too closely.
Right. Oh yeah. So I started writing a book about the things that I care about in art and in storytelling and specifically, you know, product making. And I had an artist friend of mine. Like I said, hey, do you want to see some of the stuff I've written? And she was like very encouraging. She's like, yeah. And I wrote in the side note, there was a topic that I wanted to like expound upon, but the note for that
Dustin just subscribed with Prime. So maybe just set an example for everybody else. Thanks, Dustin.
Don't do this.
Yeah, we got rated earlier for 140 people. So I've only been doing this for like a week, and so this is actually my record number of viewers since I started back up. So this is a really exciting session for me. I'm really stoked that you guys are all here. Yeah. And like, you know, I'm thankful a lot of people stuck around to like listen to us like podcast here. It's very cool.
I'm just, you know what, thanks for being gracious enough to let us, you know, use some of your airtime and help you, you know, participate, you know.
Otherwise, it's just me rambling about my fucking breakfast all day.
Speaking to the void.
What color is my belly button lint going to be today?
It's more or less, yeah. It's like, you know, the biggest streamer on the platform is like currently embroiled in a controversy because he has absolutely nothing to say. So he just watches videos and says nothing of substance over the top of it. And like that's the format. Not because people who use Twitch are bad, but because it is there's like only so much that you have to actually talk about over the course of a 12-hour stream, or
Yeah.
even like a 2-hour stream if you're doing it every fucking day. And so
If
I'm
you
coming
don't-
in here and
you don't
telling
have-
people about like my gym routine or whatever, because I'm like, well, I'm painting and I went to the gym this morning, and that's it. That's all I've got. That's interesting.
If you don't have
So
somebody to bounce ideas off of, it just starts to become, you're just reverberating. You're just
Yeah, yeah,
Echo
yeah.
chamber.
So
Yeah,
going over
actually.
going over these classic gems with other people is a lot more fun than like than sitting here and bullshitting to myself. So really appreciate you
You know-
guys coming out here every day to come and hang out and work alongside me and like give me something to talk about so that I'm not just in my own head this whole time. It's great. It's why I've become obsessed with Discord. It's like this is a way better experience than being lonely and isolated inside my literal fallout shelter in a bunker in Florida,
I need to I need to start streaming some of the work that I'm doing.
Yeah, you should.
Sadly, I'm trying to figure out how to put pinstripes on this action figure when it should be done by the painter. And I'm sort of like,
that didn't make sense to me. You said you're adding pinstripes to an action figure, and I'm like, in the sculpt?
if I do it correctly, it'll give us a small advantage where the pinstripes can be applied through dry brushing, and it's a prototype, so I need to get something there. But I might talk to the client and be like, this should be done by the painter. I'm struggling
because I've got this chick's stripe, and I am not painting those in. Like I'm just gonna not do it.
Well, it's a 9-inch action figure, so the pinstripes wouldn't be horrible. But for me, I'm trying to see if I can do it with geometry, because it would just make the painter's life a little bit easier. But I'm at the point where I'm gonna tell the client it's better for them to apply it in paint.
Isn't that always a fun email to send? Be like, I was thinking about this today, and I think maybe this is your job, so I'm not gonna do it.
Well, I've done all the other things, like the character's got a mask, and the mask has got all these details on it, and when you carry most of the weight, but you realize that this one thing really should be done by the artist or by the next person in the chain. I'm not handing. This is a big thing for me and for people that work in my industry. I don't like people handing me a crap sandwich that I have to take a big bite out of, and I don't like doing that to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of those things where it just makes no sense for me to do it, because it's infinitely more complicated than it would be for the painter to do it, because the painter can like line up the seams of the pinstripe as it goes over the shoulder or other things like that. And I'm just not. While I'm figuring out how to do it, and it's a really neat process, it's ultimately not going to be as smart as what the painter could possibly do.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's funny. Like, be like, yeah, I just realized something. This isn't my job, and I'm not going to do it. Is like an awesome, like it's just an awesome email to send, and like to craft in a way that sounds like that basically is passive aggressive, but tries to sound like cool and reasonable. Hey, I was just thinking about this morning, and there's a lot of creative advantage, I think, to like having the painter get involved in this step of the process. So, let's see what happens when they get involved, which is basically like, this is hard, and I don't feel like doing it, and fuck you guys, like you can't make me. Like, how do I word that in a way that's not going to get them to be mad at me? Which is a very reason. I think you're right. I'm on your side. The painter should be painting on pinstripes instead of you, the modeler, modeling pinstripes. It doesn't make any sense. But it's always a funny email to send to go through that, like you exercise those corporate muscles where you try to figure out how to like make this somebody else's problem without turning it into a backlash against you, which is always fun when you can pull off that backflip.
Well, luckily, this guy wants to make no real decisions as the producer of this project, and he basically has put it all on me. So I kind of basically get to call the shots, which is nice, but it's a little uncomfortable at the same time, because I'm still responsible for output or outcome. So it's not the first time I've had to deal with this kind of things, but I do have to make a decision because it's like, am I going to spend another 40 hours trying to do pinstripes and not get paid for it, or do I give it to the painter who can
40
do
hours.
it easier?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. I was like, so if you have control.
I'm just using a number, not 40. I'm not going to spend 40 hours, and I spent the morning on it, and I don't like the results. So
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, if you have control, why are you doing pinstripes?
Let me put it this way: if you have the skills to do something, why would you not do it?
Because you don't want to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, you don't want to. So,
That's what I'm saying is like there's a certain amount of in the world everyone gets to like look at something and go like, nah, like that's the story. and there's some people who have a really easy time embodying that attitude and there's plenty of people out there who that is like the hardest thing in the world for them, and we all fall in that spectrum somewhere. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I easily get sucked into trying to do things aren't my job. It's like it just makes more sense if everything is my problem, right? I think that's part of the reason I'm an entrepreneur is like I have an easy time just saying like it's all my problem, and so it's all my work, and I just make myself a big task list and I wear tons of hats, and that's just the whole thing. But to succeed in like a more collaborative environment, boundaries are important, and sometimes that involves just like staring someone in the eye and be like, that doesn't sound like it's my problem, or like that's not my job. And like you could do it in a totally psychotic way. Like there's definitely someone out there whose like whole like thing is that they are awesome at just like every single thing that comes their way in their job. They just like they snub it and like the most believable like possible way, and nothing ever lands on their desk, and they keep getting paid to do nothing. And that's not us, unfortunately. Like
Yeah.
I'm choking on my own spit. In some ways, like that's definitely not us. And like I could say, oh, it's unfortunately not us because then we get saddled with stuff. But also like, hey, maybe we also are in this line of work because we like to deal with hard problems.
There's a lot of, to go back to the gentleman that was asking you why I'm attempting to do this. There's a certain amount of pride in solving a difficult problem that makes it easier for everybody on your team or that you have to work with. And sometimes that means that you have to make a judicious decision about, hey, you know what? I can only kick this thing so far down the road, and it's smarter to let this other team member handle this for reasons. But at the same time, you don't want to do that all the time. And if you're the guy at the front end, you want to make sure that the next person down the line is not eating shit because you can't do your job. And I deal with that a lot. One of my jobs is engineering. I get models from professional artists who are recognized names, who I'm appalled that this is what they turn out. Models that aren't in scale, models that aren't decimated, models that are full of floating parts or internal geometry that we can't do anything with. We can't send it through the printer. We can't mold and cast it. It's for lack of a better term, it's a lot of work for me to clean it up and make it print ready. Imagine if someone were to make a painting that's on tissue paper and then they ask the framer to frame it, and it's like, I look at this thing the wrong way and it's going to disintegrate. I mean, that's just horrible. For me, seeing if I can do the pinstripes in geometry, it's that situation, and I needed to try it. I needed to see if it was smart or efficient or possible. And I'm making a decision now that it's not. I need to do other things.
So there you go. You have your solution not to do them. Because like, I understand what you mean. Like having like a line of like, oh, you don't want to hand like a shit sandwich to someone else, but that sounds like a painter's job. It doesn't sound like something you need to focus on. it sounds pretty different from someone giving you shitty geometry or like giving you a horrible model to work with than you just handing off a design aspect to the outfit or the character, where a painter can literally just add easily.
I should have been able to look at this and assess it in such a way that I shouldn't have had to experiment with it to try it, but it was one of those things that I really needed to take a look at, if that makes any sense. So I spent the morning playing with it, and I've already made the judgment call that I'm going to get the painter to do it. But it was one of those things that I needed to know. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes it happens like that, you know.
It do be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I had there's a model for a client. There's a model for a client. I mean, I'm gonna have to let you go. There's a phone call I may need to take. There's a client that sent me a base for a vision statue for a company, right? And he's like, we can't print this for these reasons. So and so artist did X, Y, and Z. And it's these I-beams and these robots, from Ultron, right, that are smashed up. And he's like, can we pull this I-beam out, which is the one that's going to support vision, so we can separate it from the base? And I looked at it, I was like, absolutely. And my first process was to do my standard process, which is to just cut it where they intersect. And the client's like, that's not what I want. I want the I-beam to travel into the base. And I'm like, ooh, that's really tough. I don't have the original work file, and I don't have this and that and the other thing. But let me see what I can do. Because I never tell anybody. I tell people no when it's like, that's not going to work. But, when they make a request like that, I have to look at it and see if it's even possible. And most things are possible. It's just how much time am I going to sink into it, and am I going to get paid accordingly for that time, or do they not have the budget for what they're requesting? End of the day, I put 2 hours into it. I got paid fairly, and I was able to achieve their request. But the base is still, a mess. It's a dog's breakfast, man. And they're like, at this point, we don't care. We've got to be at this major toy show, convention, blah, blah, in a couple of weeks, yada, 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 or in a week. We need this on the printer tonight. You find a way, is what I'm trying to say, and
life finds a way. That's the real lesson here.
Yeah, I'm the guy that solves problems for people. I don't always like being that guy, but I'm very proud of my capabilities. Am I an excellent artist? No, but am I the guy that finds a way to solve problems for people? Sure, yeah, all the time.
You're a pretty good artist, man.
Yeah. A good artist that can't sell anything is not a good artist.
Nah, I have this theory, and no one's ever backed me up on this theory, so it's kind of bullshit. But I think it's a trifecta. I think that the trifecta is, like technical ability, vision, and storytelling. And by storytelling, I mean like salesmanship. Like, how can you speak about the work? Create a narrative about the work itself. And like, success comes if you can nail 2 of them, and like tremendous success happens if you can nail 3 of them. Because I can definitely point to people who have like really serious successful careers who have killed it in 2 of those aspects, but like skipped on the 3rd. And so like, if you have a great vision and you are technically very strong, like, you can get by without being very good at marketing. But it's like, if you feel like, well, I have the ability to solve all kinds of technical problems or whatever, it's like you either need to be able to like be really good at selling what that thing is, or you need to have like a brilliant idea for what the thing is that you're going to make. And it needs to be, I think it needs to be one of the 2, but it doesn't necessarily need to be both. But all 3 of them are tough. They're 3 hard problems, but those are, to me, the 3 those are the 3 problems.
Well, do me a favor, because I do like to listen. Can you rattle those off one more time? I'd like to write them
Sure.
down.
It's technical. It's like technical mastery,
Okay.
creative vision, salesmanship.
Okay.
I think that's the trifecta. And if you can hit two of them strongly, then you're set. If you do like an A on one and a C on the other and a D on the third, you're in trouble. But it's like, there's plenty of people out there who just like, they have a great creative vision, but they stink. Oh, I got a raid from Amir Levi. Thank you for the raid. It's like if you like are really an incredible artist technically, but you have absolutely no vision for yourself, like, you can still sell it. Like if you're good at selling it, you're still going to be fine. But like I've never seen somebody who has like no creative vision and has no technical prowess and also stinks at selling stuff get by. Or like I haven't even seen somebody who's like good at selling get by with like no vision and no like creative mastery or like technical mastery. Because like I've met plenty of artists who never got good at like art on a technical level who succeeded just fine in their careers. And so I know it's like it's not just about technique. And I've met plenty of artists who are like super strong at technique who like never quite got the sales thing together. But it's like they're also you don't need to be everything to everyone. But it does require like a combination of talents to come together in order to create like a sustainable art career. Something I think you have. Like you have a sustainable art career. You're like you're not working in a part-time in an Amazon warehouse,
Right. I'm gonna say this, man. This is a conversation I really wish I could go further into, but I have a small emergency I need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any chance of revisiting this,
yeah, some other day. I'm around all the time. You're around all the time. It'll be fine.
I know that, but I don't want to obligate you. I appreciate that you have a life and time and only so much time. So I'm just saying, if there's time, would you let me know?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta bounce. I gotta go deal with some
All
drama. I will talk to you guys another time.
All right, take care, man.
All right, see you around,
Bye.
Eric. That was Eric Askew for anybody who's listening to just the audio side of things. He's really good. You can look him up.
He's always interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's always got something going on.
He got so much insight and experience in various fields.
Yeah, he's like portraying himself like he's some sort of aspiring artist or whatever. But there's like a 40. It's like one of the projects he has under his belt is like a 40-foot like Attack on Titan statue that's like a theme park in Asia. It's like he sculpted.
Holy shit! I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like and like he's got like a whole 3D printing studio and is like working with like top companies and like cleaning up the work of a bunch of top artists that don't have time to like fix their shit. Like he's out there, being asked as like a hired gun to fix the stuff for him, and it's like I don't know. Everybody like I've also never like everybody I've met who's like somebody who has gotten like a real art career, like a real solid art career work together, has like some amount of identity issues where they're like, yeah, actually, like I'm still missing something really important, and like I actually suck. Like that's most people. That's most working artists I've met. So like
I feel it's like that want of having extreme success, like the peak.
Yeah, and like I've had moments where my stuff was outperforming most people around me, and like I had really like incredible success that was unique. And I gotta tell you, like, you don't realize when it's happening. Like there's no point where you just feel you like know it's happening and you're enjoying it. It's just it always feels like you're missing something, even when everything's working.
Like humans, as a rule, are really good at habituating and becoming dissatisfied and just getting used to the current thing as it is.
The thing I always think about is like that there's that Buddhist aphorism that life is suffering.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
it's a trend. There's like suffering in that term is actually like a specific word from the Pali language that the texts of the Buddha were originally written in. It's called, the word is dukkha, and it doesn't literally mean suffering like you're being tortured. It's like it's a more complicated idea, and it is more akin to dissatisfaction than suffering. It's that feeling of, you want something and you don't know what you want. You're not getting what you want. You feel like a pain, like an existential pain. That's the kind of suffering that, like, life is dissatisfying on like a deep existential level. Is sort of like, I think maybe a better translation. I'm not an expert. Don't presume that I'm like I know something secret here, but this is the way I always think about it. Is this idea that like, life is like, we find ways of becoming dissatisfied with life. And it's like, yeah, okay, you could do the Gary Vee thing and say like it's all about gratitude or whatever. But like the reality is that we just have to be aware of the fact that we're like have this really annoying habit of like discounting and like marking down everything that's good about like our lives and ourselves and everything that's going on around us. And at least like being aware of the fact that it's happening. And so it's not to give some sort of grand prescription about what anyone should do about it, but at the very least we should know that it's happening actively every single day, so that like we can watch it. Because like if there's any real lesson, it's that we should be more mindful of like, the things are happening in our brain when they're happening.
I think so, and it was kind of like also the wisdom. I think Alan Watts talks about the idea of the golden goody, where it's like there's this idea that if you just achieve whatever artistic goal or whatever career goal or whatever relationship, yada yada yada, that it's going to fix that problem. But I think the Buddhist wisdom.
It's always like the next big thing coming over the hill.
Exactly, exactly, and yeah, I think there's something smart about the idea that it's like how you feel now is going to be how you feel after you've achieved everything that you want to achieve, except that now you don't have the goal to look forward to.
Oh, brutal. I don't know. I've pivoted. I've tried to pivot away from like talking so much about the business of art and things and like the idea of career success because of that reason, and like instead wanting to talk more about like, hey, the enjoyment of art day to day. And like that's part of the reason why I'm doing studies rather than being like, here's this giant project that I'm building towards. Like I'm not even posting these paintings. I'm trying to make them the best I can. And I'm trying to improve every single day, and I'm not even posting this shit because like the point of it is in the doing of it. Like I want to capture the learning, and I want to have the experience of the time I spend painting is really important to me. And beyond that, it's worthless. And to really treat it as such feels like a little enlightened to me, and it's been a really nice experience, like overall, to like have art that is non-commodified, but to really be focusing on the experience of it. Because like if I'm gonna pass along anything to other people who are like hanging out with me, watching me do it, whatever, like I want them to feel like they can have satisfaction every single day in their work and not feel like they're a huge piece of shit because they're not making enough money from art, which is like not the point. But I also want to help anybody who's like in the middle of a career thing that they like need advice from somebody who's been there before. So, I'm still trying to thread the needle.
Yeah, I like the idea a lot of the illusion of achievement. You can only appreciate the illusion after you've achieved the achievement. It's like to try to like fast forward to enlightenment or whatever that means without actually like experiencing the illusion to its fullest extent, I think is kind of like, I think there's something nice about going through the process of growing and viewing the experience after the fact and saying that like, oh yeah, it was, it didn't really matter as much, but you can only appreciate that after you've gone through it.
Yeah. It's the hot person saying, oh, looks don't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, ugh, I hate that. Awful. Yeah. Money doesn't matter, as said by a rich guy. Stephen Hawking, I was watching this video where Stephen Hawking is quoted that said that people who brag about their IQ are losers.
He's not lying, bro.
But I like the idea that Stephen Hawking, like talking straight, but like through the robot voice, like getting a sense of like the guy behind the robot voice. I always find to be kind of charming. He's just like Stephen Hawking. If Stephen Hawking's calling you a loser, like that's pretty funny. Yeah, I'm trying. So I'm trying a few new things with the piece today. I'm trying to not be so picky about creating like an ultra minimalist color palette, but I just just color picked like a few random colors that were basically the same as what was happening in the reference, but like just being a little bit cavalier about it, trying to like, you know, and then like with the background, instead of doing a solid color field, I'm doing something that's abstract but creates the same sense of space as what's in the reference. And then, I've been trying to figure out how to be more efficient and like with my strokes. And like, I think that like moving back over to the round brush is like, I'm having an easier time creating these like painty strokes, these painty fields than like the actual rough paintbrush, the one that creates the rough brush strokes. Like creating these kind of gummier color fields feels like it's accomplishing some of the stuff I was trying to do with like rougher, more like simulated paintbrush stuff, which is it's interesting. I mean, I kept suspecting that I was going to find my way back to like the round brush as I went through this journey of trying to like learn how to make stuff that was a little paintier. And like I've been leaning a little bit too much on the textured brushes in an effort to like feel like it's doing some sort of additional work for me. But yeah, the round brush has always been my first love, and I kept thinking it was only a matter of time before I was going to find my way back to her. So welcome back into my life, my beautiful round brush.
I've been staring at this painting, and I don't want to be rude, but the forehead.
The forehead?
The forehead has been bothering me the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like it's slightly elongated.
Slightly elongated. Let's see. Oh yeah, she's got. I gave her serious 5 head, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I think I had it a little closer earlier, and then as I started shading, I think I was just pushing it up and up and up. Everyone's always going to catch different stuff, make different mistakes.
Oh, now I'm at peace.
Peter, can I ask you a question?
I'd love a question.
So, if you ever have someone, like an aspiring artist, ask you, how should I find an art style? What would you say to them?
I get this question a lot. How do I find my art style? My stock answer is one that people generally hate. I tell them that they should make easy art. I tell them to make the dumbest, easiest, most obvious, stupidest art they can come up with. And the reason for that is that like a lot of what prevents us from finding our art style is this like bad faith where we like try to pretend to be cooler than we are and like make art in a way that is like inauthentic to us. Like the goal to making an art style is to like, I think a big part of it is authenticity. And so like, it's hard for us to know what's authentic to us because we're experiencing ourselves in the first person. And so we don't know like what defines who we are from the outside because we don't ever really get that vantage point. So I'd say like we need to have a hack to be able to determine what is easy and natural for us to make. And that hack is to presume that we should presume to make the most easy, stupid, obvious, like lame, like most like the dumbest, like what seems like the most obvious possible artwork. And in doing that, we gain some level of insight into like what art comes to us naturally. But like people have a huge resistance to this, and I think it's an attitude that is very easy to misquote. So it's really possible for me to like say, oh, you should make dumb art, you should make bad art, and then have people go like, this guy's got the worst fucking advice ever. Everyone else told me to make good art, and he's telling me to make bad art. That's obviously wrong. But it's like, I don't know. It's like it's my attempt at doing this kind of Zen, tricking you into like discovering something. But it's hard because even if you know you're being tricked, it's very difficult to go along with it. I think that if you make the dumbest, easiest, obvious artwork that you can, like the hope is that you're going to take one look at it when it's actually on the page, and it's going to start to make sense to you. Because like, if you're feeling like you don't have a style or whatever, it's either because you are, you're not like allowing yourself to just act naturally, or like, you're suppressing it in some way, or you're just like not noticing because it's just, you're not tuned into it. But like, you need to see, like, you need to like get a clear kind of third person perspective view of like your work and as it's seen by other people. And so you need to make like the boldest possible version of it. And I think that involves like aspiring to make stupid bad artwork. I think everyone's trying to be cool, and I think that people trying to be cool is often working against their goals.
Yeah, that's sort of like they're having that imposter syndrome sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
but like, let's just presume we're not cool. I mean, we are artists after all, right? And like genre artists probably.
Whoa! You're saying I'm not cool? What the hell, man?
Like you're hanging out on a Discord in the middle of the afternoon, like watching somebody paint. Like, I'm gonna call you out. You're not that cool. Like,
Damn.
None of us are. I was at I got this friend, and she gets this new boyfriend who's like really hot, and he's like super jockey, and we were like in this conversation, and I'm telling this story that involves bringing up Castlevania, and he looks over and goes, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh boy." I was like, you're definitely dating from a different class of person over here. Jesus. Like, I'm like, it's a video game. It's like a dude in like his like, late 20s, or early 30s. I'm not sure. I didn't quiz him on his age. He's just like, yeah, what's Castlevania? I'm like, oh man, we're all a bunch of losers. Everybody I know like knows everything about like classic video games and video game brands and movie brands and what's happening in like dumb fantasy stuff all the time. Like that's been my whole life from like childhood onwards, and everyone around me all the time. I like almost never have contact with people that are like outside of that bubble, and I can tell you like we're all in that bubble. It's like, we are not cool.
Are you trying to tell me that I'm not cool even though I make toys for grown adults to paint?
Yeah.
That's not...
That your primary interest is in painting like little attack guys who like beat each other, pretend beat each other up? Yeah, no, you're very cool, actually.
Toy soldiers are cool.
Listen, Henry Cavill is into this shit too, which means it is cool.
Exactly. See?
And he's like a professional muscle man on television. So, he was Superman. That's the coolest person you could be. And so we are going to follow his example.
Superman, and you're drawing angels. I mean, you know what I mean? You know that?
Yeah.
I get to see that the value of coolness depends on how well you can vibe with other people. Like on like any little things.
Nah, bro. Didn't you know what makes you cool is actually your capacity for destruction.
Actually, wait, hold up.
Yeah,
Let's
it's cool.
identify this,
My
Ron.
martial arts prowess is what makes me cool. It's my nunchuck skills, my bow staff skills. I'm like fucking
Pete is
Napoleon Dynamite over
definitely
here. I'm the coolest guy in the
You know,
world.
Chuck
a full
skills.
black belt.
Yeah.
Wait,
in
for
karate.
real? Wait, for
No,
real?
not for real. I'm like quoting a fucking old movie because I'm cool like that.
Yeah, we gotta call Tonser on that account.
All right, tell me, what is cool though? Like,
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, how would I even know? You know, I just know that a really hot guy at a social gathering once asked me what Castlevania was, and I said, "Damn, I'm definitely not cool." Being able to confidently and hotly tell somebody what's Castlevania and be totally earnest about it is cool, and whatever we're doing is the opposite of that.
Peter, I remember you were debating somebody passionately about them defining what is cool. So what's cool?
What is cool? I don't fucking know. Cool, being
Exactly.
cool
Nobody knows.
is not
You should
smoking and
introduce
being
him.
yourself.
You should introduce him to
Children's
Castlevania. Then he'll get him to binge watch it.
Bro, what should becoming a
I learned
superhero?
about what is cool from the fucking Ninja Turtles. Okay, so you know that's that's where I'm at.
right, eating pizzas and swinging nunchucks, bro. Really?
Yeah, I was like, so my kid's 12, and I'm like, you want to like learn how to play the guitar and like ride a skateboard? He's like, no, not really. And I'm like, you don't want to be like a cool guy or something? I think that's what cool people do. Do you want to do that? He's like, no, I want to play Minecraft. I'm like, yeah,
dude,
that's
that's the
fair.
coolest
That's
thing.
fair, man.
Oh, for sure, bro. He's
Like, I want to watch
fucking-
YouTube videos and play Minecraft. I'm like, yeah.
Has his little Minecraft girlfriend too.
I'm not gonna talk about my kid in precise detail. There are funny stories. I'm not gonna blow them up on here.
show him Alan Becker.
Who? What? Are you talking about?
Let's see, animator with animation. You definitely saw some of it. Animator versus animation.
Oh,
Or,
okay. Yeah.
Animation versus math.
Okay.
You definitely
I don't know what is or is not cool. It's like, I'm sure some people would think like having a lot of Instagram followers makes you cool. So if that makes you cool, then I'm cool as shit.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm fucking super
Well, a
cool.
lot of
Look at all
people
my
think you
Instagram
are.
followers.
Hey, he makes cool stuff.
Yeah, Castlevania, never heard of it. Exactly.
I'm actually only here because someone told me Pete was starting a cult. So like,
Yeah.
Oh, this is the start of the cult.
I'm starting a cult, and it's going to be way cooler than the last cult.
Crazy.
oh, yeah, for sure.
Let's see. I'm at over 2 hours, and I'm feeling pretty, like, I'm actually feeling pretty complete with this thing. I feel like I've reached satisfaction. I'm leveling out. I'm leveling out on these. I'm going to have to, like, find some new way of challenging myself, I think. Because these are... I was accelerating, like, getting way better really fast with these. And now it's, like, it's slowing down bad. So I think I'm gonna have to like find ways of, and it's not like I'm like I've reached a pinnacle. Instead, instead of like reaching a pinnacle, I've like feel like I'm now just treading water. So I'm gonna have to figure out some way of like making this continuously interesting, or maybe I'm just at a plateau and I have to like do this for another week or two before I get like a big boost or something. I don't know. We're gonna find out together, I think. All the cool kids are going to get together on the Discord, and they're all going to explore how to get good at painting in Photoshop. That's what the cool kids are up to.
So I was thinking about your Kickstarter thing yesterday, bro. I went and I ran some comps.
Uh-huh.
Kickstarter is fucking special sauce.
So did you realize that like Kickstarter is like mega easy mode?
Dude, okay, I shit you not. More than 80% of like attempts have been funded on Kickstarter. Like,
Yeah.
No one fails. Why is no one failing on Kickstarter?
I've seen fails. I've seen campaigns where someone's like, "You should pay me to go on a road trip so I can hang out with my friends," and they're like, "Fuck off."
Well, they fail, but guess what? Some idiot still was like, "Here's $200."
Yeah.
You know, like people really do pay for no good reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like Kickstarter like hacks people's brains or something where they like look at something that makes no sense at all. Like there'll be these MMO Kickstarters where some guy who's never developed a video game, who has no following on social media, will be like, I'm going to make an MMO, and in this one, there's going to be unlimited bank tabs. And people are like, sign me up for $200.
What?
It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's totally it's ridiculous. They're like, I'm gonna pledge for $5,000 because this guy says you're gonna be able to get mount at a way lower level than in World of Warcraft. This game is gonna be taking over.
Like the blueprint for a good Kickstarter is a story, and then a little bit of a sob story, and then the relevant thing is like a tenth of the page, and then it's like more sob story.
Nah. I think you're overstating it a bit.
My sob story on how I need peanut butter for my peanut butter jelly sandwich.
But no, like genuinely, like there's like a real blueprint for like good Kickstarters, and I like the sob stories aside, there is always a little bit about that in front, for like people actually starting new things. We're like, this is my life's thing, and
yeah, ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to go on a road trip to hang out with my buddy Brad in Wyoming, and like,
exactly.
Like, oh, yeah, here's $50, dude.
And then it's like a decent video, and then like product talking about it, who you've worked with. Name dropping is huge.
Yeah.
Like if I for any reason like worked with you, right? Like just putting your name in the Kickstarter gets shit stirred up for no good reason. Like I just like
put I was thinking if I wanted to take a big swing at a Kickstarter, one of the things I might do is see if I can get a fairly large YouTuber to voice over the video.
Yeah.
And like just figure out how much it would cost to like have somebody who had a decent sized audience that was like overlapped with mine do like like an hour of VO work.
Shit. That's a good idea.
That's not a bad idea, right? I was like, I wonder if I could get the guy who does all the Dark Souls videos, Vati Vidya, to like.
I was about to say Vati Vidya.
Yeah. I was like, if I can get Vati Vidya to like somebody with an iconic voice, who's got like a decent sized audience but is not necessarily a voice actor, be like, what would it take to get you to do an hour of voice work for my Kickstarter? Here's the product. It's like in your interest range. Be like, I bet you it's not impossible. I've been wondering this for years because I've been off Kickstarter for a bit.
I mean, check this out. He's very much into art.
I know.
Like avoiding the themes that you both are into.
I know.
He's very much into art. He hosts tons of art challenges.
If I had more free time, I would have absolutely participated in some of his art challenges. It would have been the right choice for me career-wise to do it.
He works with many artists, so it's like chances that he is gonna say no to you is next to impossible because you're pretty big, and you're you approaching him as like not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not. Well, that's the thing. It's like a lot of things are possible that people just write off in their head. And this is just one of those things that I think, like, if people were to, like, try, like, just give it a swing, who knows?
I love him, too, as a YouTuber. Like, I've watched all of his deep dive, like, lore videos.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to rip that, and I'm going to try and reach out today. And I don't know where it's going to go, but...
You should probably have like, the campaign ready before you reach out to somebody who you want to do work with on it. Because I get emails all the time from people who are like... I got one this morning from someone who's like, I have a project going on and I want you to be a part of it. And there's no website, there's no images, there's nothing. There's just I like what you make and I want you to be a part of a thing that I'm not showing you and I have no credibility. And I'm just like I just delete the emails. I don't even respond. So like you need to have like you need to be like able to show that like the product page and stuff and show like, hey, you're like the only thing that I would needed to like put this thing on the market, and I would love to have you involved. and like clearly define what their role is and like what the thing is that they're being a part of. All that put together, I think, is doable. But I wouldn't do it as like it prior to the campaign coming together.
Oh yeah, I've got 5 months to figure this out. So
yeah. If you're 5 months out, don't email a online content creator today about it.
Yeah. I started all my social media, so like I have pages for them now. I need to so one of my side gigs was making websites, so I have to like eventually get to doing that. The reason I don't do it anymore is because I hated building websites. But I will do it again for this. And then I started my Kickstarter
if I must.
account. If I must, right. I started my Kickstarter account.
If the world demands of me that I should build another website, I will do it. I will answer the call.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I certainly don't want to fucking do it. You kidding me? Shit's like, I built a website for someone else, but it's like the most egregious piece of work I've ever done.
I mean, hey, Tansar built a site in a single day. I watched him do it.
Look, Filcher's insane though.
He's not insane. He's just disciplined, you know.
No, like he might have a screw loose. Like he gets things done crazy.
But yeah, man.
Yeah,
you were
I'm
talking
saying
how people just drop what they're doing and take your advice, and then I kind of chuckled because I think I'm like the poster child for that. I'm like, you know what? Like, I think I've just been a bitch for too long, and Pete said just do it, so that's, I guess, all I needed. That was the gas.
Yeah,
exactly,
I realized at some point that I had the power to get people to, like, if I talk to a room of 100 people, I can get one of them to jump off a bridge.
Yeah, dude.
I try to treat that power responsibly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't aspire to have that be a thing, but
You're giving sound advice, though. It's not like you're aiming me in the wrong direction. So that's...
As far as you know.
I mean, we talked about this. Hold on. Yesterday, after the chat, we talked. And everyone came to the conclusion that you're actually just artificially killing your competition by giving them, like, Ace. You said that she's really good for her age and that you set her up for failure by like telling her she was good too early, and that's your master plan to like ruin her career before it even starts.
Oh yeah, I'm playing 5D chess with all of you guys, and you don't even realize that you're stuck in a game with me. This is all PvP, and that I'm out here like making headshots. You guys don't even know what's going on.
One versus 10,000, and he's gonna win.
Yeah, dude, you're deluding all of us, bro. This is master plan.
This is a masterclass in how you Fortnite in real life.
This is how you start ahead throughout life.
Genuinely, like I don't know. I'm like, man, I'm just gonna do this. I guess. I mean.
Yeah. No. I mean, I have given the same advice I gave to you. I gave to somebody who started a multi-million-dollar company. Like. I've given this advice to people, and they've gone and like started companies that are bigger than mine by a lot.
Like the pin idea, that's going to be like part of the first thing for like your first goal on Kickstarter is like you get the STL and a pin. But like who doesn't love a free pin?
Yeah.
You know? Like that's great. So, yeah, enamel pins and Kickstarter, I'm just running with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, and make sure when you do your Kickstarter, put that Pete Mohrbacher told me to start this, and I'm sure you get a few clicks.
Oh yeah, and then I'll invoice you for the 20% that I'm due after you succeed with it.
Fine, done. You want to agree to that?
No, I do nothing for your campaign, and then you send me 20%. I'm in.
You want me to I put your name on it. You tell me it was your advice and it was a good idea. And you take, let's go 10%.
No, what? Really? I don't know, bro. I think you're selling yourself a little short here. Maybe I give him a 0.5.
I feel okay. Switching the topics, I feel kind of dumb sometimes for like stylizing my work like at the end. I feel like I should make these kinds of like stylistic choices earlier in the process, and that I'm like faking being a better, more interesting painter by like adding color accents and like and like erasing edges and stuff at the end of the process instead of like throughout it, making like an interesting choice throughout it. But boy, it seems to be working just fine. Like my opinion on how well I'm doing on this piece is going up by the minute as I'm like adding in little accents and like final finishing details. I don't know if anybody else would actually consider it. Maybe I'm just like, I have weird like radar for like what I think makes a painting good. Anyways, yeah. No, I knew people that were like doing paid Kickstarter consulting and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to get into the business of like business consulting because like telling people that they need to pay you $1,000 so you can make them 100,000 is like, it's really easy to drift into fake guru territory. Like we were talking about, like I was clowning on Gary Vee, but it's like this is like the whole Grant Cardone, like 11x your business bullshit. Like if you can convince people that you are like pretty good at like running a business and marketing, and that like you've got advice for them that could make them money, like they will open their wallets to you, and like that there's a real possibility of abuse there that I've refused to take, not because I don't think that I could be valuable as a consultant sometimes, but because like I don't want to have conflicting interests. I really would prefer to just like help people out of generosity and like, run my own thing, and then, have it all be good, have it all be happy and good for everyone involved. Because, it's like I had some students in the past that I wasn't really helping very much. I wasn't like very useful as a teacher to them, but they were paying me every single month, and it sucked. I hated it because I was just like taking someone's money and I wasn't offering them any value. And like I could do that on a massive like scale by, telling people like, hey, I've got all these success stories. Like, look at this $1 million business that I helped, that I gave advice to this person. They launched $1 million business. And so for $6,000, I will sit down and do the same thing with you. There's a business there for me. And if I ever start doing that, I've fallen on real hard times. Or like, I've gone completely insane and I've decided to throw all my morals in the trash. Like, I'm not saying it's deeply wrong for everyone to do it, but I mean, in the creative space, it gets sketchy fast.
I just feel like gatekeeping success is like a weird thing to put behind a paywall.
It's like if you're giving people your time, that's totally normal to put behind a paywall.
Sure, giving people your time, but like, I don't know. You wouldn't, but like, okay, one video, like, so like, if someone's truly successful at what they're doing and, they think their advice could be impactful, making a video could reach all those people for kind of free, and you would only have to spend your time once doing it. And I'm not saying.
You mean making like a business advice like course and selling the course?
Sure.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I am currently working on courses for art related stuff, and there is some demand for me to do some business stuff. I don't want to build a business that's primarily around selling those kinds of courses, because I see the websites of the people that do it, and they seem like they're doing just fine. But like I don't really want that to be the way I make money. I wanna make money off of making creative stuff and focusing on making art and educating people about art, and like I do not want to have my life be about selling people dreams that they could become a millionaire.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So whatever I've got that it's valuable, I'll just give it away for free. People when they ask me questions about it, I just give them the advice, and I don't charge them.
Yeah.
So Pete, you were talking earlier about like how like when you get into the job end of things, like you can have like this bit of disillusionment between like, oh wait, I thought this was going to be better than it was.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt that a little bit like this week coming on with the new art job.
Yeah.
But then I also just like realized that like, oh wait, like if I just like realize like it's a job, like I'm gonna make mistakes and they're gonna feel horrible, but like that's part of working. Like it's work. I put it in this metaphor like doing a job is kind of like pushing a fridge alone. Like you can like inch it across a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
But if you like try to do hardcore, you're just gonna exhaust yourself and move it like a millimeter and be like, oh, I suck, you know, because you didn't do it all.
Yo, Omega. Which art job did you get?
Oh, I got the art job of so I'm doing a video game. I'm doing the environment art for it for the bog. It's kind of like Ori, but the thing is like it's not there stylistically yet, and I'm hoping I can either just like help them make the style a little bit better, or just be okay with the style and just like have this be a kind of fun opportunity, just to have like at least a job under my belt.
That's cool, because I have a completely different experience from yours. I also got a job, and holy shit, it's better than ever. I feel better than I did for the last 4 years, maybe. It's like the community is great, the guys that are overseeing my training are great, it's paid, you know, I'm like, oh, amazing.
Well, the thing is, like, I think the only quip that I have about my job, because like it's also like great in a lot of respects, the only quip that I have is like I'm given too much free range. Like there's not enough structure around me for me to like feel safe as far as like what to do stylistically, what like direction to go in an artistic sense. So
you don't
I feel
have a
like
direction.
so it can kind of feel like I don't have that much of direction because there's no like style bible because the studio is so small. It's like one image and they're like, yeah, we want to do this, and I'm like, so many questions I have. But
well, that's what you're kind of
it's
aiming for,
great.
though. You wanted to feel like your art mattered, and you weren't just some cog in the machine. And now you have a game that doesn't look good, and it's your problem. You know, like it sounds like Omen. You're like, you know, you're in a gig where like what you're supposed to do every day is well defined, right?
Yes.
That's easier. Like the times in my career where it's been unclear what my job is, like, but I'm at a studio, it's like it's always felt like a little bad. Like I've always wished that I had a job that was like at a studio where it was like clear what I was supposed to be doing and how I added value. But I don't know. It was like I had a lot of time. Like my first few years of working in a studio, like no one knew what the game was. Like there was a total lack of creative direction, and so it was unclear what the art team was intended to accomplish. And so it was like years of feeling like directionless, but also being employed. But yeah, at a small studio, I mean, it's like you are sort of like an entrepreneur, but not really.
Yeah.
So being cog in a machine kind of helps lift the weight of responsibility of your shoulder. You know, you're like a baby in this industry. And I feel like there is more benefit to it rather than disadvantage, because you're being taken care of, you're being offered direction, training, this and that. And if you really want it, you can level up your own art and your own interests, like on weekends or in the night, this and that. And when you have some experience under your belt, and actually they're training you something new, like I'm learning Unreal Engine right now, and how to specifically use it with Photoshop. Like 3 days of my work is been like an incredible growth for me in knowing technical aspects of using software together. So and now my mind wanders to the places I wouldn't let it go like a year ago. You know, it's like, okay, so what projects in the future can I do with that knowledge now? You know. So
I think
feel like
for me,
by the time you're doing this job, it's like course, whatever. It's a routine. You're doing your routine, and that routine actually stimulates me to be more interested in my own art and be excited about it when I go back home, you know? So
I think there's, at least in my head, there's like a lot of conflict of like creature comforts going on, because I've got an autistic brain, so like structure is awesome. It helps me feel safe. It helps me like actually like.
Dustin added.
Creative.
Apparently, everyone who joins the server now who gets a role that says artistic brain, and I was like,
yeah,
like I was like, is that a joke?
That too.
That's a pretty good joke if it's a joke, but I'm not sure it is a joke. Was that intended to be a gag?
On art. Just all drunk on art. We got that art brain.
We got that artistic brain with an R.
Yeah. Oh.
Artistic brain.
Yeah, it's we're all got that artistic brain. That's right.
You might say we're all on the artistic spectrum.
We're on the artistic spectrum, 100%.
There we go.
So a lot of things that I may be like complaining about now might actually be like super good for me in the future, but I just don't know it yet because I haven't lived with it for a month, and then it's only been like 2 weeks.
Well, there's definitely a weight of responsibility on your shoulders. Well,
yeah, and I actually have been fulfilling it quite well, actually, because they asked me to do some stuff that I'm definitely like not comfortable doing, working in engine and trying to like figure that stuff out. And I every time I dip my toe, like I learned something a little bit new that helped me figure out like how everything works under the hood. And I'm hoping that over time I can build enough of a knowledge of the program to be able to make the art in a way that it exploits the strengths and weaknesses of the program itself, or the particular method that we're going for.
Are you researching Unity?
It's actually in Godot, so it's I don't think it's that much different from other engines, other than like like how it was built specifically and like the specific codes and stuff, because I mean, a game engine is a game engine. Like, you might be able to do some special things in one, but at the end of the day, it's the same fundamentals. So if I can learn those fundamentals, then I could be on stronger footing to provide more value.
I think you've both found positions that suit you well. It's just that, Omega, I think that you are having to confront way harder set of questions about, like, you know, it's just like, I think it's inherently harder to just have a job where your role is not clearly defined. It's like as somebody who hasn't had a job in 10 years, you know, I realized at one point that I had two problems to solve. One of them was to define what my job was, and the other one was to do the job. And and like that, figuring out both of those problems simultaneously is actually pretty tough, and that's like part of the reason why people don't do what I'm doing. But I think that, like, I've never been in a role where I could just say, like, my job is art, like fucking Ken from the Barbie movie. My job is just art, right? Like, it's always been more complicated than that. And I think that's why I like it. I think I need that. I think you need that. Because, like,
that's why I was also saying, like, I might be complaining about it now, but maybe I do need it.
I think, like,
in this, like, difficult setup, just because, like, my brain likes swimming in problems that are just beyond my reach of being able to solve them, and I can see the path forward. Like, that's super exhilarating.
Defining, like, figuring out what the problem is rather than figuring out what the solution is like an interesting situation. And it's like, some people want that. Some people want that really bad. And, like, I also like doing that. And I fantasize about being in jobs where that's going to be my thing, is like, you know, I'm not just like coming in and working as like a senior artist and I'm expected to like, you know, deliver X number of pieces of concept art per day, but instead like, you know, understanding like trying to figure out what the vision of the project is and like what are the tools we're going to use and is there work methods that we need to be developing in order to like make sure we're collaborating with other departments and like, you know, that if I think about being an owner and I think about being a manager and like that's just it's a more complicated set of problems because you don't even necessarily, no one ever even hands you a thing and says like here's what the problem is. And even when they do, I mean the temptation I always have, which is possibly the reason why I'm not employed anymore, is that somebody comes to me and says our problem is X and I go bullshit. Like fuck you. That's not the problem. The problem is this. And like I'm always trying to figure out and redefine like what the nature of the challenge actually is. And I don't think that's welcome in every environment, you know?
No, because that's filling in boots that are bigger than what they gave you.
Yeah. Like, and it's just like there's a lot of eye rolling and a lot of like patient, like, you know, sighing and stuff that I've definitely seen, and in the moment just completely it's washed past me. You know, my artistic brain has totally missed the social signals, and I'm just like, no, okay, I'm gonna put together like a proposal and an email that explains why, you know, what the problem is that we need to solve.
I'm literally thinking of doing just that. Like exactly what you said, just writing something out, like doing some art tests, like figuring out like, okay, how do we actually like do this style, make it even better, but also how like have more structure so it can like gel, because there's two artists.
What's funny is that
like,
no one's ever stopped me and said stop doing that and get back to your job. But the end results of that in every time I had a job was always that I would do it, I would show it to somebody, they would patiently wait for me to stop talking, and then they would quietly redirect me back to where my job was. So I like always had time to like spend putting together proposals. The funniest one was I got
it's actually kind of nice though that they didn't like shut you down. And
it was never,
you know,
it never put me in a hostile
like,
environment.
Memory of it.
But it did make me angry all the time because I was always like
shut down.
Well, no, I was So I was always like trying to figure out ways of making my ideas convincing, but I was never actually convincing anyone of anything. So I was like always feeling like unheard and like ignored. But there was this one time where I was like, oh, I understand. Like I was at this social games company, right? So we were making like Facebook games and mobile games. And I was like, it's about gambling. Like we need to make the gambling games do good, but gambling games are bad. And I had an idea for a design for a gambling game that had RPG elements. And I was like, I'm going to make a game. I got this idea for this game that's like going to include all the things that play really well on mobile, the things that are like good about Puzzle and Dragons, and slot machines and an RPG. And it like plays to all of our key strengths inside the company. And so I put together this so I wrote out this whole like game proposal or whatever. And I gave it to managers, and it ended up as like, but then like the next time they had an all hands meeting, they put it up on the board with like projected income next to it. It was like a week later. They're like, and then Slots RPG is projected to make, 96 million in quarter 5 of like 2 years from now. And I was like, wait a minute. They're just making up all these numbers, aren't they? Like I know, like I'm the only one in the room that knows what Slots RPG is because I just made it up. Like, and so I can guarantee you that the whole rest of this slide is just fucking totally pulled out of a guy's ass. He's just randomly sitting down and just punching numbers in on his spreadsheet or whatever, and then presenting it to the whole company confidently. And so I like raised my hand and I'm like, are these all numbers of like income that's actually happened, or is this just like what you are assuming is going to happen? And they're like, oh yeah, the projected earnings. I'm like, okay. And like when I got fired, they told me I was fired because they set a mandate that said, if you ask another question in an all hands meeting, we're firing you. I said,
wow.
And I said, okay. And they're like, we want you to sign this document that says, this is a document in front of me that says, you agree that if you ask a question in all hands meeting again, we're gonna fire you. And I was like, what happens if I don't sign the document? And they're like, we're going to write down that you refuse to sign it and put it in your file. And I was like, all right, fine, I'm not signing it. Fuck you guys. And I was like, I walked out of there. And then I went and like I raised my hand in the next all hands meeting to ask some fucking pointed question because I was getting on to the fact that like a lot of the stuff they were saying was just like totally made up. And they fired me the next day. And I was like, I had all my stuff packed already. I was so ready to get out of there. But
it sounded like you did this on purpose. You're like,
yeah,
I see. This is the eject button.
Well, no, but here's the thing: is I wanted to quit, right? I wanted to quit so bad, and I'm like, but I knew from my prior experience, I had left my previous job during a layoff, and everyone who got laid off got 3 months severance. So they got 3 months worth of pay for just getting fired. And I could see the writing on the wall that like there was no reason why this company needed a development studio in San Francisco, like incredibly expensive office space, and they had all their least valuable teams in the most expensive office space out of their like multi-country network, right? They were making all their money out of some studio they acquired in Vancouver, and then all of the people in San Francisco were some early hires that never quite panned out. And I was like, they're going to fire all of us. And when they do, they're going to hand me a big fat check, and I'm going to get like and they're going to like send my name off to a bunch of recruiters. It's going to be awesome. And so I wanted to be out, but I knew that there was a point where the hammer was going to come down and like coins were going to shoot out everywhere. And so when they pulled me into the meeting, they're like, you're fired, and we want you to sign this piece of paper that says you're not going to sue us, and we'll pay you 4 months severance. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm out of here. A big smile on my face. I was like, I got the one thing I was looking for from them, which was to get a big paycheck on the way out the door. And so like I was so happy because like I got everything I wanted out of them. It was the greatest, and I've never been employed since. And that was my last gig. That was like coming up on 10 years ago at this point. And and since then, like we've been talking about, I've been trying to do this thing where I like try to figure out what my job is every day and make weird pitches for new products, and then I actually have to act on it. And and over the course of 10 years of doing that, I've got better at it, at like starting and running companies. And it's what I feel like I'm good at. And
and you like that because it's your problem, and you know how to deal with your problems.
And sometimes it drives me kind of crazy, but I've also gotten better at managing the ways in which it drives me crazy over time, because it's like, what's the alternative? Like the alternative is me getting a boring job that is just going to make me angry again, because I'm going to try to come up with a bunch of weird game pitches or like feature ideas or like work methods, and I'm going to pitch them to my art director, and they're going to tell me to stop. Because they don't want it. They don't want me to act like an owner. They want me to act like an employee, and so it's fine. Like some people, very few people want this. Very few people want this problem. So we get to enjoy it all.
I have a question. Most people like bounce ideas off of like some trusted peers, and you started a lot of companies, and you never really talk about like.
I've started a normal amount of companies.
Which is still way more than 99%.
I think I've started 4 companies.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe 5 companies. I don't remember anymore. The first one was a while back.
Every time you add one, it's just like exponentially greater chances of you being way above average.
Yeah, I have started 5 companies. Currently, I own 2 companies.
Okay, so my question is like, I bounce ideas off of you and Eric and other people, and like most people have a support system that they bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
Do you also have like a support system that you bounce ideas off of?
Not really. There's like very few people who have the same overlapping interest as me. I meet a new one every once in a while. There's a couple here in town with me that I will meet up with sometimes. I don't see them often enough. We're both really bad at socializing. That like I can chit chat with on this level because they like have a really, really similar business, but like kind of different focus. But yeah, it's like I've had to build my own network oftentimes just because it's like, I don't know, people who are in the art business, art entrepreneurship world, there's like not a ton of them. And
so,
I don't know, we chit chat. There's some people. The more I think about it, there's some other artists that like we chit chat about business stuff all the time too.
Like I know you and Adam have like you guys talked about it. You guys have talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I helped Adam start his company. Like he's through a mentorship. Like that's like we got to know each other through talking about stuff like this.
Like I guess then would you throw caution to the wind for like having like would you actually suggest listening to a bunch of people, or would you say that you'd rather do a bunch of your own research and like probably pave your own way?
I mean, it's like with everything creative, like you need to like have your own experiences, and like you need, even if you got the right advice, you're not going to have a place to put it in your brain unless you have some context. So like it's all going to be a matter of like you have to do it either way. I think being interested in reading books and listening to podcasts while you're learning your own lessons is probably fine. Like, I don't think there's any creative pursuit that you can learn academically without practicing it. And I see running a business as a creative pursuit just the same as any other. So I would say that like you should be curious about what other people have to say on the subject, but you should also you're never going to get anything out of it unless you're like doing it yourself as well.
Right. Okay.
I always wondered like, hey, should I hang out in rooms where it's like business people rather than art people? Am I going to find more? Because like one of the people I've talked to over the years is like the guy who prints my playmats. He's always good to chit chat with when it comes to like business and life stuff. Because it's like, you know, it really, whether you are making the art or you're just selling art on other people's art on like playmats or whatever, there's still a lot of overlap. But I don't know. I don't really have like a network of like, I guess I kind of do. I don't know. I used to like talk about the art of business or the business of art all the time on the road at conventions. Because, I mean, that's what everyone's there doing, is they're selling.
Right.
But I also felt like I built a lot of that network because I was, like, trying to get people to start conventions, and then I would hang out and talk with them about it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I just figured I'd ask because, you know, this is my second attempt at a business, but this is my first attempt at doing some sort of business in art. So
yeah, my first business was a podcast I mean, I tried one in college that was a hat business. I had a hat business in college that went nowhere. That was going to sell hats, like animal themed hats at conventions. That didn't really pan out. It was a good idea. It required me to do a lot of sewing, which was not like, you know, where my head was at, or like, you know, it wasn't my set of interests. I learned how to sew, but I was like, me being the production for a hat business is like stupid. And then I had a podcast, my first podcast, and that was like kind of a collaborative business thing. And then we tried to pivot it into like a social network. And that ended up kind of being its own thing because like the podcast fell apart around the same time that the social network was coming online. And so that was like a real shot at like, you know, building a proper incorporation, like trying to build a proper business and like build real like, you know, case for how to like make money with it. And like there was a product. And so there was a short-lived art social network that I like co-created and owned. That doesn't exist anymore. Let's see. And then I did another business that was another podcast that was also live workshops. That ended like a couple of years ago. And then I have my personal art business, Mohrbacher Art Limited, that is like what I do business under as an indie that I've been going for 10 years. And then I've got Huckleberry Art Academy. It's like my 5th business or 6th. I forgot. I think it's 6th actually, because I forgot about the hat one. That was during college. So it's like I've taken a lot of false starts at it before I feel comfortable saying to like somebody, hey, we should form a business together. I'm going to call my CPA. We'll get the papers done, set up business accounts, like, and like know like just the mechanics of it all and like getting it all that bullshit all done. Like being comfortable with that has taken me many years and a lot of like false starts. Like when I was in San Francisco, I would see everyone was starting a business all the time. And so every cafe you walk into, you'd see people working on their pitch decks, which was funny. And I talked with a guy. During the time when I was doing the social network was popping up, I like met a guy at a mixer who was like trying to help me figure out how to do the mechanics of it. And he's like, yeah, just have your lawyer take care of that. And I was like, I don't have a lawyer. Like, can I have yours? And he's like sending me like a lawyer's business card, and then like I just had so many annoying questions. The guy just like stopped emailing me back. But like, you know, these days it's different. These days I've actually been running, you know, my own independent business for long enough that I have like a lawyer and a CPA, and like all the dumb shit is all works out. And so I know how to do all that stuff. So I can actually like take a real swing at something like Huckleberry and like make it into like have a real plan in place to like make it and have it not just be some like weird dumb aspirational thing. But yeah, it's been a long road of getting punched in the face, as Gary Vee would say, to be able to get there.
Yeah, I remember the hat business with Misty.
Oh yeah, the hat business. Yeah, and then I would see Sean. There was another couple, Sean and I forgot the girl's name, but yeah, that we were all supposed to, like we all had different roles in the hat business, and
that was back at Living with Mike, right? And then
yeah,
I remember
I was like borrowing my mom's sewing machine to sew hats.
Mike was all mad because Frisky kept on pooping in the bathtub, and
yeah,
had to be the person to clean it up.
Yeah. That time of my life was a total disaster. But I mean, I was in college. Like, whose college life is like, you know, properly organized and good and stuff?
20 to 21 or 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
Just living together and trying to figure out how to, cohabitate.
Oh man, if I were a landlord, I wouldn't have rented to us. Like, all these 3 20-somethings are going to try to split this. I'd be like, they better have the best fucking credit in the world. Like, see, but yeah, that we managed to pay all the bills. We didn't end up in financial default, at least. But what an unhappy time.
Yeah, that was rough. I wanted to give you a heads up that you got 4 minutes to 3 hours.
Yeah, I meant to like bail out, and then we got into the whole talk about founding businesses. I haven't been on that rant in a while. So I'm gonna wrap it up right now. But first we should definitely raid somebody.
Yeah, I've got someone here for you. I'm just gonna make sure that. Oh yeah, she is still streaming. She's still doing some art.
The one yesterday was like, by the time I got to him, he was streaming.
Oh, he was doing games. Yeah. Yeah, this one is still doing art.
Okay.
This is Rat.
So you can move from one art. We have Rat Lord. I was about to say Art Lord. All right. So I'm going to hit the raid button. So thanks everyone for joining me. Go raid Rat Lord. Paying it forward. And thanks everyone who came in who raided earlier. It's good to meet some new people. I do need to get better at being on this Twitch chat. Got to figure out something. Oh wait, did I do it wrong? Start raid. Oh, I've got to wait 10 seconds, then hit the button. Okay, prepare loading into the raid cannon, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you, Pete.
All right, have a good one, man. Take care.
See you.